I'm Shelby McClure. I am an emergency room nurse here at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center. We can see anywhere from as low as 4 patients up to like 15 patients in a day. Usually work with one single doc in a zone. You're collaborating with the doc. We would collaborate with respiratory therapy to just dive into what's going on with the patient, come up with a diagnosis, a treatment plan, or just to maintain. My days are never the same, and I get to have like pediatrics as well as geriatrics and everything in between. In nursing school, I always liked variety, and I always wanted to be a peds nurse, but I also liked adults. So this is just, I get the best of both worlds. I started down at the University of Northern Colorado, and I did all my nursing prereqs and then got a degree in nutrition. And then I came up here to LCCC, did their ADN program, so 4 semesters, and then went to University of Wyoming for my bachelor's. I think my biggest advice I tell everybody is go get your CNA or go get like your EMT and start working in the field, because you're gonna know pretty quickly if it's for you. My time as a CNA just solidified the fact that I wanted to be a nurse, and I don't take that for granted at all. It's made me a better nurse, and it's made me really understand healthcare. I think there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. A lot of facilities can have like tuition reimbursement where you can be working as that CNA or that EMT, and they can help you pay to go to school to further your career. I think the thing I enjoy most is probably just being with my patients, and if I can get them to laugh in a hard time, I take that as a win.
I'm Morgan Holtz. I work at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center as a registered nurse. I care for anywhere between 3 to 6 people in a day. I make sure all of their needs are met and that they are able to have a safe space to heal with someone who is going to advocate for what they need and want. I was born and raised in Wyoming. I went to nursing school in Sheridan, Wyoming. After my clinicals at that hospital, it was like, I need a bigger hospital. So I found the biggest hospital in the state and applied to their residency program. Wyoming is a wonderful state to find a career in. There is a lot of opportunity, and there is a huge opportunity in healthcare. I know we are one of the few states that are actually building hospitals instead of tearing them down because we have a need for them. If you want to find a career where you get to make a difference every day and you get to be active and learn new things every day, there is not a better job out there than acute care nursing. I love it.
My name's Chauncey Richardson. I'm a meter reader and a collector here at Rocky Mountain Power. So meter reading is taking my mobile device into my truck. The radio collects the reads from my assigned route that day. I was looking for full-time work that provided benefits for myself and my children. This is an entry-level position, and I started in the position that I'm currently in. I have a high school diploma and some college, but what is required for my position is a high school diploma or an equivalent. Rocky Mountain Power provides and equips us with all of the education that we need to be able to do this job, my job, and all of our jobs safely. Electricity is obviously an important industry, and it's going to continue to be so. Being that I'm from Wyoming and having careers and opportunities in my own state, it's extremely valuable for me and my family, since I have children and I'm able to support them and also model for them working in a career that is very sustainable.
My name's Ashley Morlock, and I'm the Electrical and Instrumentation and Control Supervisor for Rocky Mountain Power at the Naughton Power Plant. In my role, I supervise the electrical shop and the instrumentation and controls shop. I spend a lot of my day in meetings, working with contractors, doing job walk downs, and ensuring the safety of the guys that I work with. What I love most about my job is honestly the people that I get to work with. I have a really good relationship with all the people out here, and there's never a dull moment. So it keeps my brain busy, and I appreciate that. I spent about 4.5 years in college, couldn't decide what I wanted to be. I bounced around in the science department for quite a while. I got my associate's degree at Western Wyoming Community College in instrumentation and controls and electrical. And from there, I was in the oil field for a couple years as a Sparky, and then I got hired on out here as an instrument and controls technician. All that's required for this career is an associate's degree in electrical. If you're on the wall about what you want to do with your life or can't decide what would be the best career choice for you, I would say definitely get into a skilled trade. It's a good living, and it doesn't matter if we're going away from coal or switching to gas or coming up with some more nuclear power plants. There's always going to be a future for energy in Wyoming.
I'm Trevor Tygert. I'm a control room operator here at the Naughton Power Plant in Kimmer, Wyoming with Rocky Mountain Power. As board operators, we kind of control the equipment that runs our boiler and turbine to produce the power here at Naughton. For me personally, I did go to college for 4 years, got a degree, and I started out here as a utility worker, which is kind of the entry-level position to get in here. And I was a utility worker for 1 year and saw an opportunity to become a control room operator and took that opportunity. Some of the college has helped, but it hasn't been a requirement. There is a requirement to take the NJATC. It's a national apprenticeship test that you have to take. And from there you have your control room operator apprenticeship. You have 6 months to get turned loose with somebody there always helping you, and then you have another 6 months to get certified and kind of become your own person on the board and run it for yourself. I love it out here. It's provided me with every opportunity that I could have ever dreamed of. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I would be here at Naughton Power Plant and doing what I'm doing, and it's been really beneficial for me and my family. I think there are a lot of opportunities for people to work here in Wyoming in this industry. People are going to be able to have successful, long-lasting careers here in Wyoming doing what they love.
Hi there, I'm Mark Hunze. I'm an industrial maintenance mechanic at Naughton Plant for the company Rocky Mountain Power. A maintenance mechanic at Naughton Plant is pretty much, we are the guys that if something's broke, we're the ones that fix it, tear it apart, maybe rebuild it, keep things running basically. I actually went to the University of Wyoming and got my teaching degree in sport kinesiology and health. While I was in Laramie to pay the bills going to school, I was working a construction job. It was really good money for a college student. I just seemed to enjoy it. I did graduate with my teaching degree, but I never actually taught. I just kept in construction. I went through an apprenticeship at industrial maintenance mechanics. So it was a certificate I received through Western Wyoming, where you're getting paid and making a good living and getting training and an education. That is the great thing about an apprenticeship. My advice to people that are interested in entering this field is if you're willing to get dirty, work hard, this is probably a good job for you. As for the future of energy, it's not going anywhere. The opportunity it's given me is I get to stay close with my family, the area that I know best, my hunting and fishing spots. This is where I want to be.
My name is Keith Rasmussen. I'm a journeyman electrician at the Rocky Mountain Power Naughton Power Plant. As an electrician, I troubleshoot electrical circuits. We can do anything from changing motors to working on lights, working with high voltages, low voltages. Main goal of power plants is to push out power, so I'm in control of getting that to the customer. So right out of high school, 2 days after I graduated, I got a job with a contractor, went into an apprenticeship, through a trade school union apprenticeship, the JATC. Did a 5-year apprenticeship program and passed that, and now I'm a journeyman electrician. To be successful, you got to be a driven person. You got to be able to get down and dirty sometimes. You got to be able to back off and look at the big picture so you can figure out, what's going on and how you're going to pursue it. If you love to do something, definitely look at a trade school. There's tons of opportunity in Wyoming. We're known as the energy state, so electricity and Wyoming get along great.
My name's Chad Smith. I'm a wireman foreman with Rocky Mountain Power. So as a wireman foreman, I get to help direct the daily schedules for people, plan future jobs, and really get to do some hands-on work myself. We do have a big service area, so driving is a key part of doing things every day. Once we get to job sites, we troubleshoot systems. We may operate bucket trucks to get up to our work area, operate cranes to lift equipment as we need it. When I ended up getting into electrical maintenance, that required a formal apprenticeship program, which included college classes. As a result of that, I was able to get my associate's degree in electrical and instrumentation from our local college. Rocky Mountain Power did pay for all my classes, paid for my time to go to the classes, which was pretty cool. Advice to anybody who's looking to make a career out of this, I would definitely suggest that they talk to people in the field, see if it's a good fit for them or not. Look into shadowing opportunities with our group. I got to shadow some groups when I was first starting out, and that really helped determine my career path, I would say. A lot of people think they have to leave the state to get a good career, good education, but it is right here in Wyoming, and that's something that's really valuable. Power isn't going anywhere. We're always going to need it.
My name is Susie Skurock. I work at Mountain Meadow Wool, and I am a pin drafter. Mountain Meadow Wool is a wool mill in Buffalo, Wyoming. We process wool from beginning to end, from when it comes in dirty and greasy and it goes out the front door as a really pretty blanket or sweater. Pin drafting, what that does is when the fiber first comes out of the carder, it is going in every direction. So what pin drafting does is it straightens out those fibers. The people that come and do the tours here most often are just actually astonished at what all we do to make the sweater or the blanket or whatever that they have. We have so much to offer in this state and so much to offer for our youth and the people coming into the workforce. It excites me when I see somebody new coming into the mill for the first time. In order to be successful, I think the biggest thing is ask questions. There's always something new and something different, and when you think you know it, then something else pops up, so that makes it interesting as well.
My name is Elizabeth Downairy, and I am the knitting coordinator here at Mountain Meadow Wool. We specialize in wool processing from start to finish, so from the raw wool all the way through to knitted garments, blankets, etc. So my job incorporates tracking inventory, planning what items need to go on the knitting machines. I run the knitting machines, do some of the finish work. Probably the thing I love the most about my job is seeing the yarn from start to finish and creating products that people really love. As a kid, I raised sheep. My mom actually had a wool processing business on a very small scale. I grew up doing 4-H, so I learned to sew very young. I went to college for a couple years. I never finished my degree. I haven't had any special training as far as running machines or any of that kind of thing. It's just been on the job learning as we go. Advice that I would give to someone wanting to change their career or get into a certain area, think about the skills that you may have that you don't realize you have. So I never ever thought that I would be using the sewing skills that I learned to be, in a place like this. That was not ever on my radar. There are plenty of jobs in Wyoming where people can earn a living and make a decent living working with their hands.
Atera is the IT painkiller. Remote monitoring and management, remote access, help desk and ticketing, smart automations.
My name is Ellie Filius, and I am the Assistant Operations Manager at Mountain Meadow Wool. So I am the main point.
All right, it is 8:30.
That are entering
Good
production.
morning, Wyoming Workforce Development Council and staff and visitors. Welcome to day 2 of our Q2 2025 meeting. Well, hopefully all of you had a wonderful evening and enjoyed the tour. I thoroughly enjoyed the tour of Job Corps, really beautiful facility. So if there's anyone from Job Corps here, but thanks again for the great tour and being gracious hosts, and the cupcakes were delicious. So who made those cupcakes? They were good. So as you know, we're a little bit behind from the agenda yesterday, but I do want to just thank the council again. It is part of our job to have thorough discussions. Again, it's democracy at work. And so thanks for all of your comments and things yesterday. So we did, if you look in Onboard, we did adjust the agenda today to accommodate those. And we do have quite a few guests coming this morning. So we're going to stick to our commitment with them. And then we've got only one voting item today that had to move over from yesterday, which would be if we get to the in-demand occupations list, we will take a vote and hear about that. So that is on our agenda, and the plan is to get there. So, all right, as it is 8:31, I will go ahead and ask Jennifer to do roll call, please.
Governor Mark Gordon or designee.
Present.
Senator Dan Dockstetter. Sorry, I really can't talk today. Representative McKay Erickson. Chair Eric Trowbridge.
Present.
Vice Chair Michael Kircher.
Present.
Ryan Bledsoe.
Present.
Tony Cross. Larry Fodor.
Present.
Taylor Timmis.
Present.
Bria Hammock.
Present.
Katie Hogarty. Travis Lawrence.
Present.
Deborah Zolnowski.
Present.
Wendy Fiskett John.
Present.
Danny Bureau.
Present.
Charles Wilson. Tina Conley. Nathan Williams. Philip Cornella.
Here.
Brenda Morgan.
Present.
Dan Meyer.
Present.
Matthew Davis.
Present.
Mayor Shay Lundvall.
Present.
Commissioner Peter Nicolason.
Here.
Director Elizabeth Gagan.
Present.
Ben Moritz or designee. Nikki Harper.
Present.
Superintendent Degenfelder or designee.
Present.
Director Corinne Schmidt or designee. Josh Durrell or designee. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, moving on to our first agenda item of the day. As we all know, we are being graciously hosted by the Central Wyoming Community College, and we will be hearing from Brittany Yeats, the Dean of Business and Industry, and Natasha Harris, Workforce Service Coordinator. So are they with us this morning? Are you present? Okay. Yes, because let's see, it was scheduled for 8:40. It is 8:35. Let's see, do we have our Riverton Economic Development Association panel here yet? Oh. Slow morning this morning. All right, that's fine. We've got plenty of business to get to. So we'll go ahead and just move on to, is Shay here? Do we have Shay?
I don't think we can move that.
Oh. Do what? Actually, yes, we can actually start with the first voting item, which was yesterday, the in-demand occupations list. And that, Jennifer, you want to kind of present that for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If you give me a second, I will share. In onboard, I'll direct you to the in-demand occupation list. This was presented back in November. The in-demand occupation list is a tool that is used by the Workforce Center staff to open dialogue about the occupations that are in demand in Wyoming. Again, this is just a tool. So in November, we talked about the various scenarios that we can use to narrow down the occupation list that and really define what in demand means. And so we brought this to the council in November, and there was a lot of discussion and request for additional scenarios. Michael Moore with Research and Planning went back and pulled the data for those scenarios. And then the Sector Partnership and Career Pathways Committee was charged with making a recommendation to the council, the full council, on the preferred scenario for identifying our in-demand occupations list. The Sector Partnerships and Career Pathways would like to recommend to the council that the scenario that we're looking at is 50 annual openings with a minimum of the lowest hourly wage being $25 an hour with all education required. So that really wasn't a limiting factor at all. If we select high skill, that is the post-secondary and apprenticeship. So it's really keeping all education levels, including high school. So not narrowing down by education, but the 50 annual openings, that's a minimum of 50 annual openings in that occupation with the lowest wage of $25 an hour.
Great. And, just again, thank you to the Sector Partnership Subcommittee for reviewing this and putting it all together. So council discussion around our in-demand scenario that's been presented us today.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Lauren.
First, I just want to say thank you. I was a part of the conversation. This is great data. And Director Gagan and I were just kind of chatting about how great it is. This data is great for many different groups of people, including our higher education folks, our economic development folks. And so I think that as we're looking at some of these jobs and the education and experience required to, we have to remember where folks that are field offices or district offices are working with and what their skill sets are and how do we get them into, what's the next step for them and where do they fit within this continuum, and how do we support that as the Workforce Development Council. So that's kind of the view and the lens that I was looking through. But I do plan on sharing this with some other folks because I think it is really, really great information statewide. And I think it's a lot that we can work off of to build in many areas, K-12 all the way through higher education and workforce training. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. And I totally agree. I think, Michael Moore's team in the research department, I just can't say enough about it. I love data, as you all know, and this is a very comprehensive report. And this data can be shared across the state for beneficial and multiple uses. So I agree. Thank you for everyone that put all of this great data for us together. So any other council discussion or comments? Otherwise, I would welcome a motion to approve the in-demand scenario occupation list as presented to us today.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I had my hand up. I wasn't sure if you'd seen my hand up.
All right. Who's that?
Nikki.
Oh, so moved by Lauren. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further council discussion before vote? All right. Oh, Nikki?
I wasn't sure if you had heard me.
Yeah, we can hear you, Nikki.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick comment, and I kind of want to piggyback on what Lauren said in terms of this is great data and it's really good to have just being aware of the clientele that we serve in the workforce services. A lot of these degrees are a lot of the on-demand list is higher paying wages, which is great. Sometimes the clientele that's coming in the door, they're just wanting some assistance with some entry-level work. And some of these also require some longer-term training. We also know that how much college training costs have gone up. And if you look at per participant costs based upon Title I or Title III, there isn't adequate funds to pay for some of these longer-term degrees. So just want to put that out there that in terms of looking at it from a participant perspective, it feels a little limiting. Because on the flip side, if they walk in the door and they have a disability and they come into Title IV, which we are also part of WIOA, there are no restrictions in what kind of employment that an individual can seek. If we have to give the participant, we have to give them the opportunity to be able to be engaged in that option, and they have the, they have the right to say, I want to do X, Y, Z, and then we work with them. Obviously, making sure that there's a labor market for that. The word that I'm trying to get at is slipping my mind. Again, just trying to make a point that, across the way in Title IV, that there are no limitations. So going back to some of the list feels a little limiting to participants who might only want some of those very entry-level services and may not necessarily be seeking some of those higher level degrees that I do understand as a state that's the direction we want to go in, but just to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. A question, Director Gagan?
And thank you, Nikki, for your comments. And I just want to reiterate that this isn't a restriction on careers or jobs that our clients can choose. As Jennifer mentioned when she opened, it's a tool to kind of open dialogue, and it may help some people in a career planning path, but it's not a restriction or a limitation on a client's ability to kind of choose where they want to go. And as Nikki mentioned, in VR, and the same is true at the Workforce Center. I mean, before we put someone into a training program, we're going to make sure that there is a demand for that particular occupation. But it's not, this list isn't meant to limit the clients that we serve. It's meant to help.
Great. Thank you, Director Gagan, for the clarification. Any other council discussion?
Mr. Chair, I did have a question.
Sure, Brandon.
On page 97, at the top of it, it says that it's with at least 20 projected openings and at least a I believe it's $21 wage. Is that just an old list?
It's part of the entire scenario package.
Okay.
So that's why there's every option that we pulled the data for.
Okay.
And so that's why I clarified it's the one that is selected or is recommended to the council from that committee is a minimum of 50 annual openings, with the lowest average wage being $25 an hour.
Chairman Trowbridge.
Yes, Dr. Aldrich.
I did have an opportunity to participate in the conversation of this committee, and I think that one of the things that the committee or the council may not understand or realize is that once this list is established, a lot of times these lists are used at the federal level for some of our granting opportunities, like with Perkins, for instance, because our funding is based upon high skill, high wage, and in-demand jobs. And so having this type of data available and run by Mr. Moore, who does an amazing job, is really helpful in directing that. And I believe that we're already talking about Perkins 6, and I believe that this type of data is going to play an even more important role as we move into that. And that 50 job openings, just as a reminder, is statewide, as you noted, which I think is really important, because there are several on there that have 1 or 2 job openings. And are we really going to do an entire training program around 1 or 2 openings per year? Probably it would not be our best bang for our buck. So this list has a lot of different uses, but I think that people may not understand that it's pretty heavily relied upon for some of our federal funding programs.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrich. Yes, it's an important list that we need to discuss and or approve. So any other further council discussion? All right, hearing none. So the motion on the table currently then is to approve as presented to us today. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Okay, and jumping back into our agenda, do we have our friends from the community college here today? Come on down. And I do believe you guys can go right there. Is that where you like them?
Oh.
Cool.
Just push the little people button.
All right, so yes, welcome. And we have Brittany Yeats, correct? All right, Brittany, Dean of Business and Industry here at the college, and then Natasha Harris, Workforce Services Coordinator. So welcome again. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
Yes, thank you for having us. We didn't prepare anything formal. We were asked to present some highlights on just some of the things we're doing at the community college level in terms of serving our broader service area. So we have some notes. Jennifer had sent us some questions that we may want to address. And one of them was, just what types of programs are being created, specifically targeting our Indigenous population in Central Wyoming. And so one of the larger projects that we are involved in is a partnership with the Wind River Development Fund on the Recompete grant. And this is a program that is predominantly designed for workforce training and providing skilled and technical assets to our reservation population for job training and placement. Some of those areas in the grant, we will be taking the lead on the educational side for the training in terms of culinary and providing ServSafe certification for job placement and readiness in the hospitality and culinary fields. We also will be offering CNA training, which will be valuable for a lot of the different entities that serve in Fremont County, as well as some trail building for the tourism and outdoor recreation in partnership with the reservation and Game and Fish. We will be helping to assist in promoting and providing spaces for that tourism to take place through that trail building opportunity, as well as customer service and workplace readiness. These are two areas where all of the participants in this particular grant will have to complete some level of customer service and workplace readiness, which will be under Tasha's purview in terms of just training and workforce services. Additionally, we have a lot of wraparound services that we feel will help promote success in these programs. Wraparound services that will be designed to help them with transportation, with daycare, with a lot of the things that may hinder people from being able to seek training and education in various programs. And we found that to be a real valuable asset that we can offer at CWC. And we already have that program on the main campus and all of our outreach programs. So this will be just an extension of that, but potentially even greater serving with a lot of the grant opportunity for assistance. Other things that we are working on in terms of workforce services and training, I'll let Tosh kind of talk to some of the projects she's working on, but with that Recompete grant, we're hiring a few positions that will be primarily located out at our Frank B. Wise Center, which is the CWC Wind River campus. And that will include that success coach who is helping with the wraparound services, the workforce trainer that will do customer service, workplace readiness, resume, interviewing, all of those parts of that program, as well as offering them for credit. Because what we have found as an academic institution is that if we can turn these into 4-credit options that can stack into larger certificates or even degree programs, that is an opportunity for somebody to start with a small goal and then have an opportunity to continue in the educational field that they may want to pursue. So all of the programs that we're working on creating are designed to be full certificates that will stack right into some of our associate degree programs, which seems to be working well in a lot of the educational industry. In terms of our evolving economy in Fremont County, there is a lot of opportunity, but one of the areas that I feel strongly about is promoting the need for additional training in the trades. CTE education is near and dear to my space and place at the college, and I think it's important to just economic development in Fremont County and the state of Wyoming. We have an aging population in the trades, and we need that next generation to be really interested and geared and see the value in pursuing the training necessary to enter those fields. So we've been working closely with our school district partners to expand our concurrent and dual enrollment options in the CTE fields, trying to focus on providing a shorter or seamless pathway to finish in those trades such as culinary, welding, auto. There's a few others. Hospitality is one that we are working on expanding as well. And we see that this, if we can shorten that path to completion or help with them to help with our students in the school districts to finish at the K-12 level, they will ultimately be more successful in their own pathway. So that's an area we're working with several of our K-12 partners, one of them being Fremont County 25 on the RIDE initiative that we just, some of you were here for that last week. We had a nice celebration where we were able to showcase some of the work that's happening with that collaboration with the school district. I think I have a 17-year-old son. It's a challenge, right? To keep them motivated and excited. And our hope is that if we can work closer with those high school partners and encouraging them to explore some of the trades or just different industries and educational pathways at the high school level, it may allow them to sort of be able to envision themselves in the educational programs that they maybe hadn't thought of. So that's one of our major goals with the partners with K-12 is just shortening the path to completion in some of the CTE programs, as well as our traditional educational pathways, but also just kind of encouraging more collaboration. We had a lot of our high schoolers come up this spring because of that partnership. And I think building those relationships has been very valuable to the students and to the future of our economy. Other additional training programs that we have been asked to do, we have several within our WIP projects and grants in terms of hospitality, tourism, culinary, entrepreneurship. Tosh works on the supply chain and a few others. I think they've got a panel next, so we're trying not to.
I'm limiting what I'm going to tell you right now.
And then, of course, some of the training that we're being asked to start to really focus on providing is AI for business, helping our small businesses utilize AI as a tool, and then computer training skills. There's a lot of those needs still in the industries, and as well as basic Windows management, Microsoft, Excel, Gmail. I mean, if somebody can help me figure out Google Docs, I would love that. I swear I lose things in my Google folders all the time. So those are things that are happening in terms of just providing training, resources, lots of workshops. A couple other new sort of exciting partnerships that we've just been asked to be involved with is Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that program. They are entering Wyoming. They have asked Central Wyoming College to be the host site for a cohort this fall. And I brought some flyers if anyone wants to take any. This is a really easy lift on our part because it's a program that's designed to provide additional training to small business owners. They have to apply, but it's a fairly easy application process. And there are some restrictions on what types of businesses they're able to help serve, but ultimately they're looking to have 40 small business participants this fall from the state of Wyoming. They chose Central Wyoming College as the host site simply because of location and just the opportunity to maybe have a greater impact in the reservation population. So that is going to be a free program where it's predominantly online. It's very intensive for the business owners. They're saying that, you know, folks should commit about 12 to 20 hours a week on this, but it's free. So they get all of this intensive training and this network of folks who are just there to help support and grow and expand small businesses. Their hope is that we can continue offering this in Wyoming to small business owners several more times. So this is something that we're excited to be a part of because we felt like it really aligned with our mission to serve our community and just provide the space. And as you can tell, we have really beautiful spaces. So it's a nice opportunity for us to use those. But participants will be able to have this network of resources for as long as they choose to be a part of it. So they get to work with folks that will help them find resources for financial support, resources for development, potentially for vendors and marketing, operations, all of the things that small businesses really need additional support in. And so that's an exciting thing that we are looking forward to. So applications close June 15th. If you know small business owners, they're looking for businesses with 2 or more employees. That can include the owner, and that they've been in operation for 2 years or more. There's a few other things that are involved in this, but it's mostly online, and then they'll have a weekend, or it's not really a weekend, it's about 3 days in the fall and 3 days in December that they would be on campus with a lot of the network partners. So that's another exciting program that we've been asked to be involved with right now, just as a hosting site, but hopefully as a long-term partner in supporting economic growth with larger foundations like the Goldman Sachs Foundation. Programs that we're focused on in terms of our local labor market, as I'm sure you all hear everywhere, we need more customer service, more soft skill training. I mean, every year in our advisory committees, I need students who, you know, are coming out of college with those skills, those conflict management skills, the soft skills. And so those are trainings that we're really committed to focusing on over the next few years to help with that. Resume building, we're looking at in places where we can, embedding industry certificates within academic programs that will be valuable to that work, and as well as the industry certifications that Tosh does in some of her workforce training programs. I think, I mean, I've just spit a lot of things at you. So any questions yet? Comments?
Great stuff. Yeah. Questions or comments from council so far?
So other things that Jennifer had mentioned, maybe just touching on, was just, again, the types of training we're doing, but also the dual and concurrent in meeting the needs of Native students. We have a large population of dual and concurrent students, and right now that has been incredibly valuable to creating a stronger pipeline into our system, but also to assist them with the things that they need in order to be successful in high school and then in the workplace. So again, those are areas as well in Fremont County as Teton County that we are working on expanding. And as I mentioned, the big area that we're focused on is CTE, how we can do more CTE concurrent and dual enrollment. Those are the students that often aren't able to take advantage of the traditional dual and concurrent enrollment options. They're not maybe doing the English 1010s and 1020s. They're not maybe doing the college algebra, but we don't want to lose them, and we want to be able to provide additional opportunities for them to still get credit at the college level and maybe walk away with some skills and training that will be valuable to their industry. So other things that you wanted to add? I kind of took over, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'll have more to share soon on the next panel. But no, as Britt had mentioned, you know, we're really just through our advisory panels really trying to work with local businesses to find out what those direct needs are. And that is how I've shaped my workforce customized training opportunities. And again, with the WIP opportunities so that they are very conducive to what our local community is requesting and they need of our students and professionals and CTE grads, really making that a normal part of college. Not everybody comes to college on the traditional track. And we're really trying to make that embedded even in the high school years so that students know that there's more than one way to go to college and how important that is, especially in rural communities.
I think that's about all we have.
Great stuff. Yeah. You have a question, Dr. Aldrich?
I just had a comment, Chairman Trowbridge, through you. I just wanted to say that Brittany has been in her role only for about a year, and she has really moved the needle on career and technical education and Central Wyoming's college's role in this region with the work that the college is doing and that she is helping move forward with our students on the reservation and really trying to draw together some coordinating and collaboration. So just a huge shout out to the work that her and her team are doing through Central Wyoming College, along with Superintendent Dagenfelder and all of the individuals that have been involved in bringing some funding to that effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Congratulations, Brittany. Yeah, sounds like you've done a lot of great work.
It's been a busy year.
Yes.
Trial
Like
by
more to
fire.
come, too. Great. Thank you,
Mr.
Dr.
Chair.
Aldrich. Yes. Laura.
I just had a question for both of you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. As I was listening, there's many different funding opportunities. WIP's one of them, but there's a lot of other ones. And as we look at the changes at the federal level and then, at the state level with property taxes and everything, I think you guys will be putting the puzzle pieces together even more so. Can you just expand a little bit more on how you are able to build those, I guess, funding opportunities out for these different programs and what that looks like for Central Wyoming College moving forward?
Yeah, I think, we're very lucky. Our foundation has incredible staff and resources. They've been really good at going out and doing the work to find the funding. Recompete was a huge win for the Wind River Development Fund, but also for us because it allows us to provide more training and education in that space. WIP has been vital to the programs that we're offering, especially related to workforce services, entrepreneurship, and hospitality and tourism. But I think it's really just been a joint effort of folks that they see all of these programs happening around the state or even at the federal level, and they're really interested in being involved in ways that they can make a difference. So our foundation has been critical to making those connections for us, to finding the funding sources, but also for whatever reason, I think because some of the programs have been so successful, we're a little bit on the map, and we have an incredible team that's dedicated to doing everything we can to make sure that our communities are served well. And so I think that's really been a testament to the work that's happened here and that folks are finding us now. And Goldman Sachs reached out to us. It was us or Casper College, and no offense to any Casper folks, but we won. So, but I do think part of that is because obviously central location, but also just knowing that there is an opportunity to really move the needle for economic development and just growth in the central part of the state. So.
Great. Any other comments or questions from council? For either Brittany or Natasha? I'll just say keep up the great work. It sounds like you've still got a lot of stuff to do, but very impactful stuff.
I mean, it never ends, right? But, we're excited because obviously we don't go into education for the money, but the ability and opportunity to really help somebody find a passion or, find a job that allows them to have the life they desire is really critical to why we're all here. And so we just appreciate all of your support and letting people know what we can provide for them. So, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you both. Yeah, and reach out to us if you need anything as well. So looking forward to hearing more updates in the future.
I can leave some of these, but please, they're across all of Wyoming. This is open to anyone in the state to take advantage of this program. So if you know business
folks or, taking them to your local offices, please encourage them. The application deadline is June 15th. So.
Cool. Yeah, definitely encourage all of us to go to our communities and find those small businesses that could benefit from a program. I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's free. Sounds very comprehensive.
It's very comprehensive. It is free, but it's intensive. So they have to be committed. In fact, the person from Goldman Sachs told me, if they've got a vacation plan this fall, it might not be the year for them. So that's how committed one might want to be. Hold off on vacations in the fall.
Cool. And you can just leave those at that table there. So
Okay,
anyone
perfect.
can kind of go by and grab a pamphlet if they want.
And
Yeah.
I can bring by more if we need them.
Cool. Great. All right. Well, thank you both very much. Appreciate it. And our next agenda item, and so it looks like Natasha's just going to stay right where you're at, right? One of the things that we changed last year was I thought it would be a really great idea for each of our in-person meetings when we visit communities trying to grab artists, mayor, economic development agencies, just so that we can kind of get a idea of what's happening in this community and what's going on. So we have a panel coming up, the Riverton Economic Development Association and the Bootstrap Collaborative Panel. And that's going to be with Natasha as well as Kevin. Good to see you. Welcome back. Yes. Kevin Kernishnik and Mike Hoyt. So if you guys want to come on down, then I guess I will be your panel moderator. And I've got questions for you. Many tough questions you must answer. Yes, I was going to say, did Jennifer give you time to prepare for these tough questions? Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Okay, cool. Well, again, thank you to the three of you for coming and just talking about Riverton and the area and all the economic stuff that's going on here. So I guess what we can do to kind of kick it off, we want to do kind of a quick, who are you? What's your role? And kind of what is your fire here in Fremont County? So I guess we'll start with Natasha. You want to go for it?
So I'm Natasha Harris. Those of you who know me, I go by Tosh. So I came to the college about 4 years ago through some grant work, and then I got a position with Career Services, which then moved into the more permanent position in workforce, which I very much enjoyed. That position was originally mainly a trainer position, but since I am a solo act in this department, it's taken on more of a coordinator role, which works very well as I utilize a lot of in-state resources, local resources, and then here and there we fly folks in to help with some of these trainings, especially some of the more specialized ones. Much of that work has been done through the WIP initiative, which I've worked very closely with Kevin and the team over at Manufacturing Works to bring that to fruition, and that's been a really great experience for our community. Outside of that, I'm building our customized training opportunities, and a lot of that is done through just very direct work within our communities, a lot of Lander and Riverton, Fremont, and then expanding those into Hot Springs and Teton. Just working on that, and especially with it just being me, really trying to make connections there and find ways to grow. I do a lot of one-on-one with our local businesses to find out their direct needs. And as Brittany had mentioned, a lot of that is around the soft skills, customer service training. Out on the reservation, they've been asking for a lot of computer skill training. So I have trainers out there that are working on different levels of Microsoft and Google, where the participants do earn certifications at the end of those. And then that builds into more advanced programming into Excel and advanced computer training. We've also had a lot of requests for the stackable certificates. So working with local CTE and the trades to get more of those trainings here. And I was just supposed to do an introduction, and so I'm going to let Mike talk before I tell you more about our programs. Sorry about that.
Well, good morning. My name is Mike Hoyt, and I'm the director with the Bootstrap Collaborative here at CWC. And so I've been in this position. I've been with CWC a couple of years now. I came to CWC in a part-time capacity as an adjunct teacher in the business department. And when the opportunity came open with the Bootstrap, I was interested. It is an opportunity to kind of act partially with the college and then partially in the community as far as working directly with small businesses to help connect them with other services and other opportunities, and then to have a lot of one-on-one connections with them to really help them meet them where they're at and provide resources and cheerleading and content to help take them to the next level.
Perfect. Name's Kevin Kershisnik, and first off, I want to thank you all for coming to Riverton. Hope you're having a good time. A lot of great things to do in the community. If you can't find something, by all means, let me know. And there's a lot of great events going on. And like E.T. alluded to, I had served on the council for a little more than 10 years. So thank you for your service and all that you do and the volunteer hours. I know it takes quite a bit and it makes a difference in the state. So thank you. I started my career in the private sector side, and that's when I served on the council, ran a manufacturing company. I actually still do that a little bit today. Then I wanted to get back to the community, and I do part-time economic development and part-time manufacturing works for the community here. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of the tools and services we have available. And I guess that's the intro.
Nice. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, good to see you again. I think Kevin was one of the first people I met when I joined the council like 6.5 years ago. So yeah, I was like, good memories, good times. So good to hear you're doing well. So questions from the council are going to fall into 4 different kind of categories. So we've got entrepreneurship and small business support. So we'll touch a little bit on that. Funding and economic development, housing and workforce readiness. That is a challenge across the whole state, and tourism and talent development. So I think, and I guess, if you just want to jump in, if you have comments on a certain topic, I think I'm going to start with, what approaches have worked well in creating collaboration or building trust among businesses in your area? So what programs have worked well in creating collaboration or building trust among businesses in this area?
So maybe I'll start that one out. One of the things I think that works really, really well is just finding ways to get people together from a networking perspective. So in the Bootstrap, there are regular events where people can just come together and talk. This includes small business owners and entrepreneurs that are just getting started, to larger businesses that have been more established, and also lots of ecosystem partners. And as people come together and talk, it's a chance where they can tell their story, they can exchange business cards, and they can really make connections to see about where business might go. I found this is a really great way of facilitating exchange in our community, because there's many people that just don't know where to go to get information. They don't know who to talk to about resources. And most of the time, there's someone in town that has been there before. They've walked that path, and so they can share some of those lessons learned with them. And interestingly enough, most people that are have been in business for a little while like to share with others. They want to share, hey, this is something that was hard for me, and maybe you can benefit and not have that same experience. And I think as we find better ways of facilitating those types of exchanges, that it's really great for business.
I'm going to touch on WIP to answer that question, because I've been in this role for about 2 years now, and I was handed the WIP light manufacturing grant funding right when I came into the role. And so that's really been my main focus. And what I found with that was, we had an advisory board that we pulled and got together just to see what they thought we needed, in addition to the trainings that were mentioned in the original grant. And what I've really focused to do is, as we've been offering those sessions, to offer high quality instruction and to get consistent feedback from participants. Because what we've seen happen is we're getting repeat customers for every single session, which is great. I mean, the local businesses, especially in manufacturing, have been really great about supporting these. And I think it's because they see that when they take the time to send their employees, that they're getting high quality instruction, they're coming out with certifications, and then we're willing to build upon those sessions for more advanced training. And that in and of itself has made it, I think, very successful. So it's been a fun experience, and also having the flexibility there to really shift those offerings to meet the direct needs of this rural community. And I really think that businesses too have been very appreciative, and they have vocalized several times how amazing it is that we can offer this level of training right here in Riverton, Wyoming, because they've flat out told me if I had to send my employee to this, if I had to pay for travel, if I had to give them, instead of 1 day off or 2 days off, we really tried to condense the format, it wouldn't happen. And so the hope is that once, that is concluded, that these businesses will then be willing to fund and support more of these training programs because they've seen the outcome.
One other quick thought, and I know Kevin has a lot of ideas as well, is the idea of putting people together to do projects is really effective. And so kind of a great strategy is kind of a matchmaking type of role, where as you find people that need help, maybe they need some help with marketing, being able to help facilitate that exchange. And that might be an email introduction, that might be going with them to introduce them to somebody at their place of business and that has some experience, and then sometimes even helping set up a project or some sort of a collaboration. And they can be very small things, right? I have questions about my business plan, or I'm really trying to solve this type of a problem. And as people come together, then there's a little bit more of a kind of a spark where they want to connect, right? If I've done a project with you before, now I'm interested. And so I kind of follow up a little bit on my own, and that kind of sparks continual collaboration in other projects. So I think that's a really important part of having a vibrant ecosystem, is being able to do different projects, large and small, together.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Mike and Tosh had said. The thing I would add is, well, it's 20 years ago now, but anyway, when we were looking at buying our company out, I said, what resources are available in the state? I need help. I had 60 days to put together a business plan, get funding, get the company bought, get the people hired, et cetera. And so they said, well, go talk to ET. So I did that, and I said, all right, I'll go talk to Tosh. And next thing I know, 15, 20 days of my 60 days are gone. I said, I don't have time for this. And what we really need is the collaboration, the centralization of these resources. And so a couple of things, I don't know if we can do any of the slides. That'd be great. We could do that now. Yeah, so the second slide is perfect. And so actually just after that, this group was started. It was the Wyoming Business Resource Network, formerly known as that. And I guess from a council perspective, is everybody familiar with that, or mostly, or none? Okay. So what this is, these are our dollars, our tax dollars, right? That come from severance taxes, our personal taxes, et cetera. Go to the state, and then the state legislature says economic development, job creation is important. So we're going to take these dollars and give them to the Wyoming Business Council, that then has this consortium. They partner with the University of Wyoming, and all the entities you see there underneath are part of that, whether that's market research, Manufacturing Works, SBDC, Impact 307. It's an old card, so there's a little bit of change going on there, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is an attempt to have a one-stop shop. So if you talk to anybody in one of those entities, they can get you information about what state resources are available and how they can help you and your business be successful. So this is a great start, and we can run through some of the other resources as well. But the other ones that we always talk about are the Small Business Administration. There's federal funding through the EDA, Economic Development Administration, and the USDA. Then we have state resources. The WIP has been an awesome program that we've been able to work with. So Lauren, thanks so much for that. It's a great deal. And then also the Workforce Development Training Grant. And that fund has been phenomenal. So when I went from the private sector to the public sector and started telling people about this, they're like, I didn't know that existed. That is an awesome tool. And so a lot of companies are utilizing that. It's allowing them to train their employees, to advance their company, and to hire more people. So if I could have one request, it would be to continue to fund that program, keep that going for the businesses in Wyoming. So it's just an awesome program. So keep up the good work there.
Yeah, great. So I'm a huge promoter of that, that training fund. And what are just really quick, what are the stipulations around this? Like it's $1,000 a year. Yeah.
Can be up to 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. That is there. And this is one of the unique like economic things that Wyoming does provide, you know, along with our amazing apprenticeship grants and internship grants. So, you know, when I go to the NGA conferences, like they're like, how did Wyoming do that? You know, like these are really, I was like, take it. We have it here for you. So yeah, great point, Kevin.
Yep.
Kind of speaking around the EDA, the Economic Development Alliance. So who makes up the EDA membership and what kinds of businesses are they trying to attract to Fremont County?
I guess I'll take that one. I'm the economic development guy. If you could go to slide, I think it's 6 or 7. Keep going. I think it's 1 or 2 more. Ooh. Yeah, actually, if you could go back to I'll do the building blocks because I always like to do this. Sorry, Mike and Tosh hear this all the time, so I apologize. But these are the economic development building blocks put forth by the Wyoming Business Council. And it's a cycle. So the top part is the economy. So that's the new businesses, business recruitment, entrepreneurship. And the bottom is the economy, or is the community. So you have to have the economy to create the community and so forth. So as you get more people in your community, more of them are available for the workforce, more of them help with the infrastructure, with the workforce and quality of life, which you need, right? If you go to a community and they don't have the services you want, you're just not going to stay there, right? Regardless of the job. So they have to work together, and that's a cycle. So that's the visual that I always use. Like to promote that in workforce and education, you can see as one of the critical building blocks for economic development. So Mr. Chair, to answer your question, this is the economic development organizations, and we start with the International Economic Development Council, which then kind of gives the landscape for international as well as domestic economic development. The topics and critical items are pretty much the same, international, national, and even state and local. Then we have the Wyoming Business Council and the Wyoming Economic Development Association, which do economic development for our state. And they collaborate on various projects, education, a little bit of lobbying, which is important to keep the policies in place and so forth. And then in Fremont County specifically, the economic development organizations are IDEA Inc., of which I'm the executive director. It's a volunteer board. Been in place since the mid-'80s. Wind River Development Company is another economic development organization. It's a for-profit organization here in Fremont County. Wind River Development Fund is a rural development. They're the ones that you talked about before for the recompete, and they got awarded that grant, which is great for the community. And then you can see the balance list. So we have Lander, DuBois, a reservation, and then the Chamber of Commerce's. And to Mike's point, it's a collaboration, right? It's all the entities. So IDEA Inc., what we like to do is we say, all right, let's look at the economic development engine. And it may be any project that any one of you may have that you want to move forward. And we don't want to drive that engine. All we want to be able to do is to get in front of you, remove any impediments on the track, any nickels, to allow you to move as smoothly as possible. So that's really our charter as IDEA Inc. to do that here in Fremont County. And we've been somewhat successful on a couple of projects. I actually met with a company just yesterday that is now occupying the railcar facility over in Shoshone, and they'll be employing 25 people by this fall. So, you know, it's those type of projects that we work towards to make things successful, and workforce development is absolutely critical.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's quite a list of a lot of collaboration. So, any questions from council up to this point? The topics that we've covered. So we're going to jump into housing and workforce readiness. So housing. So question of the year or decade, how is the availability or lack thereof of housing influencing economic development efforts in Fremont County and our communities here?
I'll start us off. Okay. So workforce housing in general is a concern, right? I mean, if you were in Teton County, huge, absolutely huge issue, right? And I think any county in the state has that. And so there were a couple things that WIDA had put forth. There were some bills that we were trying to get through the legislature this year to assist. One was a kind of a corpus, a foundation. Those are now, I believe, being taken up as interim topics. So hopefully those will come forth and we'll see some options, some reprieves going forward. If you look at the numbers, so in Fremont County, on average, the number of housing units based on the population, it's 2.3 people per household. So statistically, average is 2.6. Do we have a housing problem? Okay, I could say no. Reality is always a problem with affordable housing, right? And I'm not going to get into the property tax discussion, but there's a lot of things happening there that are I guess I'll just back up and say I'm not a housing expert. That's probably the safest thing to say at this point. But if I look at it from my perspective for economic development, the lower end, there seems to be subsidies. There's federal programs that can assist on that side, and we have several projects around town that do that. The high-end housing, actually you drive around town, there's 5, 6, 7, there's almost 10 houses that are being built right now that are, the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 range homes. And those fund themselves, right? There's enough margin on those to create those projects. It's the multi-family, multi-housing units that are a little more difficult in that middle range. So affordable workforce housing, if you will, that's a challenge. Two things that have been done in Fremont County in the past. One is we had a Style Homes facility and they build high-end modular homes. And so we were looking at that program to try to do that on the reservation as well and have a place for employment for people to continue to move that forward. That's a project kind of in the backgrounds that we're trying to do to help the housing situation. The other thing we have in Fremont County, and I don't know if it's unique, but it's the Reach Foundation. And what that is there's a large housing development and they're duplexes for seniors to move into. And what that does is then they sell their house, that frees that up for the house, for the homes or the families that are upward mobile, want larger homes. Then that frees up the entry level homes. And so we've seen some success with that to just continue to move people through the housing flow in Fremont County.
So just wanted to add a little bit from a personal perspective over in, I live in the Lander community and they mentioned the LIDA organization and I was talking with Stacy, he's the president of that organization just recently about this topic about housing. And the biggest problem I think is the affordable side, right? I mean, if people come into town for some sort of a managerial or a higher level position, they can typically afford to find something. But the workers that are part of the organization, that's the struggle. And I know personally, I have been helping some lower income folks and there just isn't really any housing to be had. The few small projects that we do have, they have long waiting lists. And so it's challenging because one of the things that's really so hard about this is because young families just getting started, they normally can't get into those bigger places. And so if you can't, even if you have a decent job, if you can't find a little place to stay, you have to look somewhere else. And then, these are challenges that are not unique to our community across the state, right? We're all facing very similar types of challenges. But one thing that I have seen is when we have larger multifamily unit options available, like apartment buildings that come open in the Lander area, as soon as they are built, they're filled. And so it boggles me to think, why am I not personally developing more land projects? Because the demand is so great for affordable housing. And yet, so there has to be some sort of a blockage to push that, because the demand is there. There's people that want it, but for whatever reason, it's just not moving forward. So that's just something to share. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Yeah, fascinating. Any other comments or questions around housing? Yes, Kevin.
So around the state, has anybody seen a solution that's working well in your communities that we could emulate?
Oh, good
perhaps?
question.
No, it's just.
Who's hiding their secrets? Come on, it's to benefit all of Wyoming. I think it's really interesting about the duplex thing. I was thinking because my parents are moving. They live in an old home in downtown Cheyenne, and they're not old-ish yet, but the bedrooms are on the second floor. The main floor, there's no bathroom. The washer and dryer's in the basement. It's like these stairs will kill you one day. Like this is not your forever home. And so they're moving to a ranch style house in Kimball, Nebraska, right next to my sister, which is great. But it's interesting to think like, yeah, there are, as the aging population look for something a little bit more affordable, easier to manage. They don't need these big homes anymore that they raise their families in, being able to move them into those duplexes, which then usually will then, like to your point, would open up that for an entry level new family that needs that space to grow into. So I thought it was very unique. Oh, yes, Dr. Aldrich.
Chairman Trowbridge, through you, I was just going to say, one of the things that we are seeing some success with in Cheyenne is changing our Uniform Development Code, our UDC, so allowing for smaller lot sizes, because a lot of times the cost of housing is relative to the size of the lot that is being built on. And we just recently have passed two new subdivision plats. One, they're called Trailhead Estates 1 and 2, that will have 27-foot wide lots. And these are single family homes detached that have rear loading garages, and some of them are on one floor, some of them are on two, but it's a builder out of Berthoud, Colorado that's had a lot of success in these smaller homes. They call them entry-level homes, where the price point is between 250 and 300,000. I'm not sure when that became an entry-level home, but we're really hopeful that it's going to help to accommodate some of those starter home needs that we have in our community as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, changing city code and how that works. That's interesting. Yeah, did read about that. Any other ideas or thoughts? Cool. Moving on to tourism next. So, can you tell us, is there anything new or any new tourism related projects coming up in the area, and who is expected to provide the labor for them?
I'll start us off. Yep. Okay. So a couple things. One, through that recompete grant that I think, Tosh, you guys had talked about right before. Okay. The one thing we're pretty excited about there is the Buffalo Museum. It's the reindoctrination of the buffalo, the indigenous herds here on the reservation. And so Mr. Valdez is continuing to grow that herd, and they're going to put out a large world-class museum as part of that. And so then we start saying, well, what we'd really like to do is pick up on some of the Yellowstone tourists, Jackson Hole, going through Cody, Buffalo Bill Museum. There's a world-class military museum in DuBois. If you've not been there, please do. It is absolutely phenomenal. And then we're trying to make sure they'd have, 3 or 4 stops and just kind of tour through Wind River Country, Cody, up through the park, Teton, et cetera. So that's probably one of the biggest ones that we see for the tourism side. Then what I'd like to do with that is state some things that are important. Back to the infrastructure building blocks that we talked about there. It's transportation. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So transportation, getting people in and out of our community is very important. We're centrally located, which is nice for probably all of you traveling in. Less than a 3-hour drive. All right. So it's great for the state, but how do we get people from outside of the state to come in? The state does an awesome job with tourism, and we're trying to ramp that up. So the Wind River Visitor Council and Helen is, championing that, doing some great things. But as part of that, we had problems with air service. And I'd like to just, since I got the mic for a sec. Okay, great. Thank you. Take you back about 8-9 years ago. I had a company come to me and said, your air service is unreliable. I cannot get my salespeople in and out. We are going to move 25 of our G&A, general administrative jobs, out of Wyoming to Colorado because you don't have reliable air service. Major red flag, right? So how do we address that? So we put together a task force. We've been able to do that. And the state's been awesome because they have funds through the CPA, Capacity Purchase Agreement and Essential Air Service Enhancement Program. And so that goes forward. But then we put together sales tax And the community voted for that, and that would help fund the commercial air service. We were able to take the enplanements from about 4,000 a year up to over 20,000. So the market's there, it's needed, and that helps bring in tourists, helps bring in businesses, and can grow the community. So those infrastructure type things are what we're working on the background. And that's probably the depth of my knowledge in the tourism side. And I'll pass it on for additional comments.
So one thing that I wanted to share is in our local communities, and across much of the state, the outdoors are huge, right? Most of us love going to the outdoors and participating in other things. And so I don't know how long you expect to stay, but there's actually an outdoor kind of conference going on in Lander over the weekend. And so you should swing by and check it out. There's some really neat activities and some booths and ideas there at the community center. But the thought that I wanted to share that I think we can do a better job on, especially you in your capacity as kind of a state organization as you kind of move around, is I feel like there's lots of small individual communities trying to fight for tourism dollars. They're trying to, as people are driving through the state, going to Yellowstone or going to large major attractions, and what can they do? I spend a lot of time in Du Bois helping with small businesses over there. And the thing we talk about constantly is how they have different seasons of the year. And it's all based on when the tourists are driving. And then there's this summertime when they're all coming through. And so they want to maximize on small business opportunities where people are coming in town and they're stopping, they're getting gas and maybe lunch. And what can they do? And can we hook them to stay for a little bit and spend a little bit more money and stay in our hotel or, go out to our restaurant or, try one of our activities in the area? And the whole community focuses on how do we maximize this very short window. And then it's kind of a unique thing because it's the same idea. Then they have tried to build a secondary thing in the wintertime for snowmobiling, right? That same idea where there is a traffic that comes through for that and how can they maximize that? And so the idea that I have is as communities like Du Bois are trying to build on tourism, and we all want some of those dollars, I think a way we can do that is we have to be able to share when we have events better, right? I'm pretty sure if I took a poll that very few of you knew about this little outdoor activity going on right now over in Lander for the weekend, right? And that's kind of a big deal, right? And how many of those do they have a year? And as people have conferences or festivals or big activities, if communities could share that information in a certain way to kind of help support one another, I think that would pay dividends. And maybe something as simple as links on websites, right? Better coordination on that. Or just kind of sharing that information, kind of like how Kevin talked about with the Wyoming Business Group, right? With the resource network. Each group has their own mandate, but they know enough about what's going on with the others that they can kind of tell and say, well, here you go. This would be a good resource to have. And I think from a tourism perspective, we could probably follow that same model and really get some mileage.
Great points. I was just kind of thinking, like, you think about the state population by like 580,000 people. That's a pretty decent, good sized city in most, states have multiple cities that are like 500, 600,000 people. And, I don't know, but they kind of coordinate what's going on in their communities pretty well. They're all centrally located, but yeah, Wyoming, technically, that's all we are. It's just one big, bigger city. We're just all neighborhoods in a way. So sharing what's going on in our own communities and what's going on. Yep. Any other questions or comments from council on tourism? Cool. I'm going to ask one last question, and then I think I like the idea of if you guys have questions for us that you would like to ask, and or if we'll kind of end with if there's anything that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to, that you want to say. So I guess the last question I will ask from here is going to be, what major efforts are in place to recruit and retain businesses in the region, and have you seen any particular successful techniques? keeping businesses here or bringing new businesses into Fremont County?
Yeah, I can do that. Sure. So looking again at the building blocks, take you back there. So the two of them, business retention expansion and new business recruitment. From an economic development standpoint, the business retention expansion probably occupies between 80 and 90% of our time. So what you see is for businesses to expand, create new jobs, they do that through organic growth, acquisitions, or spinoffs. And Mike can talk a lot about the entrepreneurial side. But just give you one quick example. That company I told you about earlier that pulled out their G&A folks, they gave them the option. They said, you can move to Colorado or you're unemployed. And a handful of them chose to stay in Fremont County, remain unemployed for about a day, and then they started their own companies. So we lost 20 jobs. Fast forward 7 to 10 years to today. Those people have started 5 new companies and employ over 60 people. So that's the organic growth that I'm talking about that we really see being successful. To answer your question specifically about recruitment, we say, okay, what do we have to offer in this area? Similar to the rest of the state, right? Energy sector is big for us. Technology, manufacturing, we have somewhat of a manufacturing, I wouldn't call it quite an ecosystem, but close, vertically integrated. We have several suppliers that supply parts to other manufacturers in the area. And one of those that just recently was recruited is called Kafaru. They came up from Colorado. And they came up, and as part of that sales tax, we were able to give them some incentives to come here. They moved here for multiple reasons, but today they employ over 45 people. And they brought 20 with them, so they've hired 25 people in the area. They were worried about housing at the time when they came up, said, where are we going to find housing for our employees? And they were able to find that. And moving forward, I think most of them are pleased with the housing that they have. Some may not be, but most are. And so those are the recruitment efforts. And then the other one on the rail car side I was talking to you about, there's going to be another 25 employees. Most of them will probably be local. About 5 of them are coming in from other areas. So the recruitment side, the tools that we use typically are through the Wyoming Business Council. They have a whole department that go out and research different companies. What we see a lot of success in across the state is firearms. A little more receptive to that. They come from states where they really have a lot of restrictions. They come here, Caltech, Weatherby, there's quite a few that have been successful. So that effort coming through the Business Council, we help. And if they fall into the verticals for our area, then we actively go out and recruit them.
So something I'd like to add to that is from a recruiting perspective, one of the biggest issues businesses have is getting quality people. And so I think in order to solve that problem, the partnership with local institutions of higher learning is critical. And so one of the things that has been really successful, so you mentioned Kafaru, I was actually just emailing with them about setting up a student internship with them over the summer. And I think a great way of helping recruit businesses is helping connect them with people at community colleges and the University of Wyoming, where they can find a pipeline of people to help grow their business, right? They're always, as they're looking to grow and find new people, that we have graduates that are wanting to learn and they're wanting to stay. And this is really a wonderful way of kind of connecting people in together, because if we don't do it this way, then the problem is these students will take their skills somewhere else. And I'm sure there's been lots of conversation about brain drain across the state and how can we stem that. But I think that one of the best ways of doing it is putting them together and finding ways to, again, match make and say, hey, you need students, our students need experience, we can put them together. And oftentimes there's funding sources to provide for the wages for the student. And so that is really kind of a win-win all the way around. And so I think that's a critical tool to use for business retention and recruiting.
And I don't want to shift the subject too much, but just to build upon what Mike just said. You mentioned earlier about the workplace readiness and that being, a big issue in our state right now. And so I just want to touch on that if that's okay. So, because I'm seeing that in both of my roles as customized training and in our WIP offerings. Because when I first started out in our career services and I went downtown and met with local businesses, I was expecting to hear a lot about certifications and specific education training. And what I heard of was soft skills, soft skills, soft skills. And it's a huge problem. So right now, the college, we have created a committee. We are working on creating a 4-credit workplace readiness program. So hopefully that will help to entice some students to take those courses, not just to show up, but also to get college credit that can then lead into a higher degree. I'm looking to expand our customized training options throughout the county, and by not only doing these trainings myself, and I'm attending trainings myself to stay modern in the current society, because, nowadays our challenges are much different than they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Technology has been a blessing in so many ways, and then a huge obstacle in others. And also, especially in communities like Wyoming, where we're rural, really bridging the gap between who's entering the workforce and who's running the workforce, if you will, because there is a gap there. And there's a way to make that a strong partnership, bringing in technology into businesses where, older business owners don't know how to utilize it, and bringing that in, but then also helping them understand who they are employing. So that's a huge piece of all of this. So we are working, so I'm working on that in my customized training role, and then also through our WIP funding, bringing in more trainers to hit on specific topics, resume building, industry certifications, soft skills, all of those needs. So that will be a series as part of WIP this upcoming fall. And then through that, I'm hoping to build that network that will stay here to help provide those trainings at a more consistent rate.
All great answers. Yeah, definitely, Mike.
Yeah, so I know we're running out of time, and so I just wanted to share just one idea about entrepreneurship and then an ask for the group, and then maybe Kevin, if you want to kind of jump in with your thoughts, is a big driver is, as we're trying to get big businesses, I mean, those are huge, right? When you get a Cafaro into a small community like this, that's amazing. But oftentimes it's the little businesses that are on the main street, that are the mom and pops that start to grow, and then they can develop. And a big way of doing that is through promoting entrepreneurial activity in the communities. And so one of the most important ways of doing that is startup competitions, right? You guys have probably seen Shark Tank on TV, right? That kind of idea. And communities around Wyoming are doing that. And we have a pretty good ecosystem here in Fremont County where we do that. And we have a small like a baby pitch competition that we call it with the students in the fall, and in the spring we have a one across the county where we have people all come in and they get training and they compete for prizes and activities. And so that's really where I wanted to kind of give an ask to this group, is with the idea of building more entrepreneurial activity. Here's an idea to consider. So I'd like to pitch the idea of having somebody from the local one-stop connection to help with jobs that could actually step in and potentially be a judge at one of our local competitions in the spring. There could be a small donation to kind of help with prizes. And then as part of that, the idea then the judge could then really help highlight the resources that are already available. Right? So like some of these internship or training opportunities that are funded by programs in the state that people don't know about. And so they could have, instead of having people come to them at the little shop, go to the people, right? Go to the people where they're having a competition, they're new ideas, they're looking to grow and hire people, but they need people. And so if they can be trained and have a little workshop on, these are the actual programs we have in the state. And here, let's bring the paperwork, or let's bring a laptop and we'll sign you up right now. Then I think that will help move the needle a little bit. And so I think the thing that would be great is if we tried something like that here in Fremont County, if it is a successful program, then it would be very easy to duplicate around the state.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add there is Mike and I are always talking about how do we create more jobs? And so on a visual, if you had a funnel, right at the top of the funnel, we want to get as many potential businesses, the entrepreneurs, into the top of that funnel. Help them out, give them the business resources. We know what, 1 in 8 will make it. is statistically what'll happen. But then they keep filtering through. And we get to different stages. Okay, now they need training, workforce training. We collaborate with the college, WIP. We're doing all the different programs there. Then they continue to grow to those companies I was talking about that went from 1 employee to 5 to 10 to 20. Now they need infrastructure. They're going to need buildings, new facilities. And that's where the Wyoming Business Council, the BRC program, Idea Inc., Wind River Development come in to help create new buildings for them so they can grow. And just right across the field here is the Brunton Building. If any of you haven't seen that, that's one that we did through a Business Ready Community Grant program. And that started as a manufacturing facility. It evolved into a co-working space, and now it's both. So we've used it to the maximum capacity here in the community. And that's where Mike's office is and mine's over there. And we help the entrepreneurs in that area as well. So as many resources as we can get to these companies to help them succeed is a benefit for all of us.
Great stuff. Thank you for sharing. So as we wrap up, last questions from council or anything you want to know from our folks here and friends in Fremont County? No, but it's a great job. And yes, is there a question on?
I just wanted to add that all 3 of these panelists had a bunch of slides, and they're all in Onboard and on the public meeting materials page. So for additional information, resources, and other topics that the panelists talked about, all of those are available to you.
Awesome. Then, yeah,
Could I just add one thing? Sure. Back to what Tosh had mentioned regarding technology, probably all embracing it, but AI, Industry 4.0, I mean, it's here, right? It's real. If you're not embracing that, you're behind the curve. For example, here in town, there's a manufacturer. If anybody wants to see them, let me know. I think I can still get a tour set up later today. But I walk into their facility. It's a room about this size. There's 6 large injection mold machines, right, which are automatic, injecting plastic, parts coming out. They have 4 cobots coming in, picking up these parts, clipping off the sprues, putting the part down on the table that rotates. A camera looks at it, does a full 360 view of that part. Good, 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 bad part, sorting 100%, and then they can package. That's basically dark manufacturing, right? They could have the lights off in that facility, could be happening. They had 1 person in there and 2 or 3 technicians on the backside supporting that. But those are, instead of, $15 an hour jobs, those are $30, $35 an hour jobs. And it's a sustainable wage, and those people are employed, and that's happening here in Riverton and probably your communities across the state.
Yep, it's fascinating. I've heard a lot about that, Dark. Like when you have a facility that's all pretty much robots, you don't have to have lights on. Like they don't need the lights to see. Like they just work. It's amazing. And we announced that we're going to be creating an AI task force on this council that'll be set up for a year to kind of really do a deeper dive on the robotics and the humanoid robots and the AI and its impacts around the state of Wyoming. So yeah, it's here. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it is probably as big, if not larger, than the industrial revolution that we're about to see. So it's almost everything is going to change for sure in the next 5-10 years, as short as that. So it's here. Cool. All right. Any other comments, or I will just hand it over. If are any last things that you wanted to say or didn't get a chance to ask or let us know about? Or you can just run away too. That's fine. Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. Yeah, great stuff. Really great stuff. All right. So next up, agenda item number 19. Actually, I think that would be good. I think this is a good little break time. So let's meet back. We actually are early. Let's do a 15-minute break. So that's going to let's get back here at 10:10, and we will resume with Shay with our business training and support unit. All right, start wrapping up your conversations and we'll get started here shortly. All right. So we have our next group of presenters. So I'll call us back to order here. And next up on our agenda is going to be a business training and support unit presented by Shay and team.
Hello, everyone. You guys hear me all right? Thank you so much for having us here today. We are really excited to be here and talk about all the things that have been happening over the last quite some time in our unit, and share some, program outcomes with you. I have Savannah here with me today, and Savannah is she's not so new anymore. She has been in this position as the Workforce Development Training Fund program lead for a year now, and she has been doing really great things for the program and looking to streamline things, and is just really hit the ground running since she started. So happy to have her here today and be able to present on the Workforce Development Training Fund. And I also have Ivy Karajian here with me today. Many of you know Ivy and have worked with her, but there's definitely some new faces here on the council. So Ivy's going to really dive into apprenticeship and some pre-apprenticeship things and just kind of talk about the things that we are doing in that space right now. So lots of exciting things are happening. I will also touch on towards the end of the presentation, our Why Relocate program that is brand new, fairly brand new. And also we'll talk about our Why Quality Counts program as well. And we have some information on some of our WIP and ARPA funded programs that we want to share as well. I'm wondering, we can really get going sometimes. So if we start running out of time, Mr. Chairman, Jennifer, if you could just kind of give us like a 10-minute wave, we would greatly appreciate that. So, all right. I will go ahead and turn it over to Savannah.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Chairman, council members. As Shay mentioned, my name is Savannah. I am the Workforce Development Training Fund Program Lead for the Business Training and Support Unit. Under the Workforce Development Training Fund, there are 5 different grants that are available to Wyoming-based businesses and different entities within the state to apply for different training needs to expand the workforce within Wyoming and build the current workforce. We'll kind of dive into each of those grants on a high level here in a few minutes, but first, we'll go through kind of just some key points about the program. So our grants are all open the first 7 days of each month for businesses to apply for. So the 1st through the 7th of each month, the application window opens, but businesses can build their applications throughout the entire month to begin the application process. All of our grants function on a reimbursement model. And as we go into each grant, it'll kind of dive into what exactly that grant reimburses for and how that reimbursement process works. We are in the process of building a new grant management system, which is very exciting. Up to this point, all of our grants have been manually tracked through a lot of different trackers. Our applications were Google Forms. And so we have been lucky to be able to start this build, and currently 2 of our grants are live in this new grant management system. That is our business training grant and our internship grant, and pre-hire and apprenticeship are set to go live by June 1st, so our next application window, which is very exciting, and our team is trained and fully ready for the new process. So it's been a great change in the way that we were currently functioning. Currently, based on the rules for the grants, all of our businesses have to be registered and in good standing with Wyoming Unemployment Insurance, Workers' Compensation, Higher WYO, Secretary of State, and then also the Workforce Development Training Fund. So we do check that based on the initial registration that the business submits, and then we also check that per application that comes in. We verify good standings with each of those entities. As some of you may know, in the last fiscal year, we were functioning on a limited funding for the program. With the start in the new biennium, we have taken steps to ensure that the program remains fiscally viable for the entire biennium. So we did take our grant budget for the whole biennium and kind of divide that over the biennium months and set a budget for each of our grants to ensure that we're kind of maintaining a monthly budget and ensuring that we're able to approve businesses that are coming in and kind of have equal distribution across the grants to help as many businesses as we can. We have also taken a lot of steps going forward to spread the word about the grants and expand our outreach. So we have recently developed new marketing materials for the Workforce Development Training Fund, which is very exciting. So as we are traveling and attending different events, we now have booth gear that really draws attention to our programs and what we have to offer. And we also have new rat cards, posters, stickers that we distribute across chambers, across the state, the local workforce centers in all your areas, and then different schools, the community colleges. So we are really trying to get the word out and kind of spread that information through paper materials. And then we do work closely with our communications team to market our grants on social media for businesses or individuals who may not know about the funding that we have available. Since we launched our new grant management system, currently we have 550 businesses registered within that system. And since January of 2025, 172 of those businesses are new to our grants, which is very exciting. Moving to our first grant that we have. So this is one of our bigger used grants. Our first grant is our business training grant. So the purpose of this grant is for businesses to send their current employees to training that will either correct a skill deficiency or upgrade their current skill level in their current occupation. This grant is available to Wyoming-based businesses across the state that are physically located and operating in Wyoming. Government entities are not eligible for this grant with the exception of emergency medical service providers and county medical and memorial hospitals. As mentioned before, so this grant covers up to $75,000 per business per fiscal year. And then for preferred industries, it's $3,000 per trainee per fiscal year. And non-preferred is $2,000 per trainee per fiscal year. You can go forward to one more. So this is our preferred industry list that is set by the council. So we have construction, finance and insurance, healthcare, manufacturing, technology, and hospitality and tourism. Our industries that we serve are not limited to this list though. So we serve industries in all areas of the state. So we have a significant number of recreation, arts and entertainment, transportation. There's really no limits on businesses that can utilize our grants. The next couple slides go over some numbers, just to kind of compare the last fiscal year, which is July 1, 23 to June 30, 2024, and then currently. So in the last fiscal year, we awarded 247 grants. 234 of those trainees completed training. And then we obligated $642,650. 19 industries were served. And then we do have our top industries. Healthcare and manufacturing tend to frequently be our higher users of the industry grants. And then we serve 21 counties with Teton, Campbell, and Natrona being our top used counties. Looking at this fiscal year to date, so that is June 30th of last year to April of 2025, we have awarded 333 grants with 743 trainees served, 845,000 awarded. And then those industries kind of stay consistent. So again, healthcare, manufacturing, construction, and then Teton, Sheridan, and Laramie being our top counties. Our next most popular grant is going to be our internship grant. So the purpose of this grant is for businesses to provide a short-term structured learning opportunity to an individual that is looking to gain experience or gain skills within a new industry or occupation that they might be interested in. So this is available for Wyoming-based businesses again. And then with the same concept, government entities are not eligible for this grant with that exception of those emergency medical service providers. We did shift the parameters for this grant in May 1 of 2023. So currently the parameters that are in place is that an internship cannot be longer than 480 hours, can be up to 480 hours. That's about 3 months full-time work, 6 months part-time, depending on the intern's availability. And then we can reimburse for up to 18 an hour for the intern. And so we reimburse for the wages of the intern. Those pay stubs are submitted on a monthly basis and reviewed by our team, and then reimbursement is issued. The hourly rate that's approved is based on wage supporting data for the state of Wyoming. So in the application, the applicant is asked to provide supporting documentation to verify the average hourly rate for that role in the state of Wyoming. Because it is an internship opportunity, we expect the rate that's being requested to be on the low to average side of that scale, because they're not walking in fully trained within that occupation. Businesses are eligible for up to 3 interns per fiscal year based on their needs, and then registered apprenticeship programs are eligible for up to 5 per fiscal year. And then each internship has an identified mentor, and the mentors are limited at 2 interns per mentor. And then the intern or the business has 2 months to hire an intern if they do not have one identified yet. Looking at numbers for last fiscal year and this fiscal year. So last fiscal year, we awarded 83 grants and 103 interns served. Our applications are 1 intern per application currently. There is instances where the interns kind of get substituted throughout the duration of the grant. So typically our interns served may not always match with the number of grants that were awarded. And then 744,279 was awarded. From those 103 interns that were served, 45 of those interns were offered positions and remained employed within the company. And then 13 industries were served. Healthcare, construction, and IT were our top industries, and 18 counties were served for last fiscal year. This fiscal year, we are currently at 91 applications that have been approved, 109 interns that have been served, and 865,000 that has been awarded. To date, 9 of those interns have been hired, but these grants are all currently ongoing. So these internships are currently being in the process, so we don't have full data on how many of those have been hired at this time. Construction, healthcare, manufacturing still on those top industry lists, and then Natrona, Albany, and Laramie. This time of year is heavily used for internship grants because of those summer months, those summer interns coming in. Students are kind of wanting to get into an internship, get into a business. So right now we are currently seeing about 40 to 60 applications per month for our team to review, sometimes more. Similar for the business training grant, year round for business training grant, we're reviewing 50 to 70 applications per month. So that is kind of why we set the application window for the first 7 days to kind of be able to distribute workload properly and be able to manage the level of applications that are coming in. We do have separate funding for internships right now that is through WIP. So it is specifically geared towards young adult internships. So the entire application process and eligibility is the same as our regular internship grant that is funded under WTF, except for these interns do need to be between the ages of 16 to 24 and a current student. And so if a business applies under this grant and is awarded, they are confirming and agreeing per their letter of agreement that the intern that they're bringing on is going to meet both of those eligibility parameters. This grant is very successful and very highly used, especially this fiscal year. And this summer, we are seeing a significant amount of applications coming in, which is great. We have been marketing to working with schools in different areas. The colleges have been a great resource for getting students matched within industry and occupations that they might be currently studying in to get that kind of applied on the job training with what they're learning in the classroom into the actual real life experience. To date, young adult interns, we have awarded 103 grants, 171 interns have been served, 1.3 million has been awarded, and then of that, 40 interns have been hired, and some of these grants are currently ongoing. We typically see less of these interns being hired because they are students, so they're returning to school, they're returning to high school, so they're typically not hired after the internship. Construction, healthcare, and hospitality and tourism are our top industries to date, and then Albany, Fremont, and Laramie are our top 3. Phase 1 of WIP Young Adult, we were awarded about $951,000, and then phase 2, and then phase 3 of WIP, we were awarded another $500,000 to be applied towards young adult interns. And then we will carry this kind of method going into post WIP funding and implementing that within our regular internship grants. Our next grant that we have under the training fund is our pre-hire economic development training grant. This grant is available to training providers that are looking to provide training towards an occupation where there is a shortage of skilled workers within the community. And so this application is a partnership between the training provider, their local economic development entity, local workforce center, or businesses in the area that have identified a need for individuals trained in that occupation. A great example of this is going to be CDL training. So obviously there is a need for individuals with their CDL license within the state of Wyoming. A great example would be LCCC. So LCCC has their CDL training program. The LCCC would be the provider. They're partnering with their local or regional economic development entity, their local workforce center, and the businesses within the area that are expressing, I need 2 individuals, I need 3, I need 4 trainees that have their CDL. So then they're applying for a number of slots for trainings, and they're taking individuals through this training to complete the training and be hired within 90 days post completing that training. So we do have a 80% completion requirement in the rules of this grant. So 80% of the trainees that go through this training do need to be hired within a 90-day period within that industry and occupation to meet that completion standard for this grant. This grant reimburses for the training expenses related to that training. So tuition, registration, class fees, and then HR expenses. So any screening, drug testing, and then the cost for their license or certificate costs to complete that. This is a great grant to be used for those large scale businesses that may be needing to kind of hire a mass amount of individuals trained within a certain occupation. We have been in contact with a company in Casper that's kind of expanding and building their own in-house training. So Austin Engineering in Casper, they're building a mass training facility there where they're training in-house welders. And so this would be a great example of how to utilize this grant. So it can be either a college that's utilizing the grant, in-house training providers. There's no restrictions as to who can be that training provider for this grant. Oh, sorry. This grant does go through a subcommittee of the council. So once we have screened these applications for pre-hire, it does go to a subcommittee of the Workforce Development Council that makes a recommendation on whether to approve or not approve to the Director of Workforce Services once the application has been screened. Looking at numbers comparing last fiscal year and this fiscal year. Last fiscal year, we awarded 4 grants, 75 trainees were served, $258,000 was awarded, and 42 of those 75 were hired within the industry after completion. And our top industries are construction, transportation, manufacturing, and those occupations, those individuals went into our machinists, CNC programmers, CDL drivers, and then we had a high school construction pre-hire program. Currently, we have 1 grant that has been awarded with 46 trainees, $239,000 awarded, and that is for a CDL training. This training is currently ongoing, and then we have 1 current application in the queue for another CDL training. The next grant under the Workforce Development Training Fund is pre-obligation. This grant is utilized by economic development entities to request an obligation of training funds that can be applied towards pre-hire or the business training grant for a business that is looking to relocate to Wyoming or expanding within Wyoming. And so it's essentially obligating a set amount of funds to be applied towards those grants for this business specifically to use for that expansion and growth need for them. We did have 1 application in fiscal year 23 that crossed over into fiscal year 24 in Sweetwater County. And it was for the manufacturing industry to expand the current business by 363 employees. Currently, we don't have any active pre-obligation grants. The last grant under the training fund is our apprenticeship grant. There's so many. So our last grant is the apprenticeship grant. Ivy will dive into a little bit more about what exactly a registered apprenticeship program is, but this grant specifically is available to the registered apprenticeship programs or the related technical instruction providers of the apprenticeship program to apply for. This grant reimburses for the related technical instruction side of an apprenticeship program. So that is going to be the classroom instruction side of a registered apprenticeship program. This grant reimburses for tuition, registration, class fees, materials, instructor wages, and fringe benefits, and then also the license and certification fees for the apprentices. The applicants are those registered apprenticeship sponsors or the RTI provider. There are no funding limits. We do just screen the application to make sure it aligns with the average cost of training. This application is also reviewed by our team, and once it's been screened, it is also presented to a subcommittee of the council for recommendation for the director. Looking at numbers to date for the last fiscal year and this fiscal year, we had awarded 7 grants, 85 apprentices were served, 241,000 was awarded. IT, healthcare, and construction were our top industries, with HVAC, plumbing, electrical, CMAs, and IT professionals being the occupations. Currently, we have 8 grants that are awarded, 94 apprentices that are being served, 295,000 awarded. Education, construction, and healthcare are top industries, and then our current apprentice grants are funding K-12 teacher, K-12 principal, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And we do have 2 apprenticeship grants that are in the queue right now that are in review to be presented to the council, to the subcommittee within the next few weeks. That is all for right now.
All right, Mr. Chairman, council members, thank you so much for having us. Again, my name is Ivy Karajian. I'm the apprenticeship program lead underneath the business training and support unit. We are a small but mighty team of 3, including myself, that serves the entire state. We prioritize educating about registered apprenticeship programs, providing technical assistance to those businesses that are sponsors, and then also providing a support with federal grants, and then supporting our state grants as well for registered apprenticeship programs. Before I dive into the grants that we have available, I love giving just a quick snapshot. This is a really high-level overview of registered apprenticeship programs. I do see some new faces, but I also know that we have some apprenticeship champions on the council, so I appreciate that apprenticeships are here at the table. So modern-day registered apprenticeship programs, these are real jobs. So registered apprenticeship programs are a structured learning opportunity where businesses can truly create a unique training opportunity that caters to their specific needs within their industry and occupation. What's great about registered apprenticeship programs is that our apprentices are paid employees during the period of their training. They're earning a wage that is a healthy wage that allows them to make a healthy living here in Wyoming, along with being able to have structured learning that is specific for their occupation and their industry. Apprentices also earn a nationally recognized credential by the Department of Labor. All of the apprenticeship programs that we recognize by the Department of Labor are USDOL registered apprenticeship programs. We directly partner with our Wyoming Office of Apprenticeship Director to help facilitate all of the technical assistance and registration here in the state. So some of the key components within registered apprenticeship programs, the first one is that it's industry-led. So we're directly working with businesses and sponsors across the state to ensure that individuals participating in those as our apprentices are getting high quality training that's very specific to their industry and occupation, and just making sure that we're really truly meeting all of the needs for our Wyoming businesses. The next piece is the on-the-job training. So that's a critical piece for registered apprenticeship programs. This is really ensuring that the individuals that are going through this training process are getting direct mentorship, and they're getting that critical hands-on learning that they need to be proficient and successful within that job. The related classroom instruction was mentioned by Savannah underneath the Workforce Development Training Fund. This is a huge piece of an apprenticeship program. It's that supplemental education where they're learning in more of a classroom setting in order to give them those, the book knowledge, the learning skills that they need in order to pair that with that hands-on learning. And really, they're going to go hand in hand for that apprentice to be successful through that apprenticeship program. The next piece of USDOL apprenticeship programs is that there is an identified wage progression. So while apprentices are going through this paid training opportunity, there's a starting, middle, and ending wage that's been identified by that employer in partnership with USDOL, so that those apprentices are continuing to increase their wage as they're mastering competencies throughout that program. And then lastly, the credentials. I mentioned that nationally recognized credential, but we also recognize local credentials such as certificates, licensure, and then also college education. So there's quite a few different pieces that go into registered apprenticeship programs, but this is truly what makes it unique, is that it has this structure. So I also wanted to mention the type of training that can be applied in apprenticeship programs, and also the types of apprenticeship programs that we have here in Wyoming. So the first is going to be time-based. So a time-based registered apprenticeship program is really where the employer has a training approach where they have a required number of hours that they must meet by the U.S. Department of Labor in order to complete that apprenticeship program, and this is done on the job. A competency-based registered apprenticeship program really focuses on the apprentice's ability to master competencies, those specific subject matters needed for that industry and occupation. Many of our apprenticeship programs that take on this model, it's more of a checklist of competencies that once they master that competency, they're checking that off the list and moving to the next one without having a specific time requirement tied to that. The next is a hybrid model. So you could take pieces of both of these types of apprenticeship programs and really create a specific hybrid model that's going to best meet your business needs. So you would have a specific number of hours on the job that the apprentice has to complete, and then very specific competencies that have to be demonstrated in order to complete that program. And then lastly, the type of training that can be provided during a registered apprenticeship program. We call this our related technical instruction or supplemental education. This can be provided in a number of ways. So it can be done in a formal classroom setting, such as a community college or a training center. It can also be done through an online training opportunity. And then there's an opportunity where businesses can do in-house training through a certified instructor. So having someone who's a master in that field be able to teach in a classroom setting those competencies needed to provide on-the-job learning. So moving into our grants, that was a really quick snapshot of registered apprenticeship programs. They are truly an awesome opportunity that can be a one-size-fits-all for our communities in order to provide a unique training opportunity for businesses. And this is truly how we can support those opportunities. So our first grant is our State Apprenticeship Expansion Funding. We call it our SAFE grant. This is a federally funded grant through the U.S. Department of Labor. We are really focusing on utilizing this funding to expand and develop registered apprenticeship programs across the state. We're looking at all industries, all occupations, and really truly trying to grow those numbers so that we can provide great upskilling opportunities for our current Wyoming workers. This grant is a one-time incentive fund. So we are able to provide up to $5,000 per registered apprenticeship sponsor. And we're really trying to utilize these dollars for program startup costs, because we do understand that starting a registered apprenticeship program does take time and effort. We're also looking at the extra maybe additional classroom and online trainings that go beyond what the Workforce Development Training Fund can cover. We can also apply this funding towards mentorship stipends, train the trainer activities, so for those certified instructors in-house, and then also apprentice materials. We have received quite a bit of feedback, and we understand that there are some workers that have a hard time getting into registered apprenticeship programs because there are upfront materials they need to start on the job that they may not be able to afford. So this is an opportunity where we can apply some of this funding towards the needed materials to actually become employed underneath an apprenticeship program. So we also brought some data to the table for you guys. We currently have 103 registered apprenticeship sponsors here in Wyoming. We also cover 63 occupations right now. So we are actually making great headway. I did want to mention that this is the first time in Wyoming history that we have over 100 registered apprenticeship sponsors in the state. So I truly believe that these expansion efforts are working and that we are supporting more employers with this incredible training opportunity. With this grant funding, we have been able to expand or develop 28 new registered apprenticeship programs. This is since July 1 of 23. This is ongoing funding, and we have applied for the next round of this as well, and should be learning about the funding we're obtaining as of June. So the total amount that we've been awarded so far by the U.S. Department of Labor is $637,195. So we've had a good, healthy fund for these efforts, and we're excited to see how we can continue forward. The next program that I do want to mention is our pre-apprenticeship programs. So we utilize this through the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. We worked directly with the University of Wyoming to stand up these programs, and then we've been implementing these programs within some of our schools across Wyoming. We've really been focusing on individuals 16 through 24 in school youth. And the current pathways that we've been able to launch and continue providing students with is construction, healthcare, and manufacturing. So with these funds, we were able to serve currently 70 students across the state. These students are located in different areas all across the state, which has been really incredible. This program is an online program facilitated by the University of Wyoming. We really wanted to look at accessibility for this. So providing it online was the greatest avenue for us to do that. We currently have 26 completers. So the rest of that 70 are still currently taking this program and continuing through with the training. We've currently obligated $70,000 for stipends. So the students who are completing this training get a $1,500 stipend upon completing that they are able to use towards continuing education costs, going into a registered apprenticeship program, and really utilizing it for their needs to continue within these training opportunities. We've also been able to obligate $105,000 towards supportive services. So many of these students were under the 300% poverty guidelines and or had been affected by COVID within their household. And so we also provide them with $1,000 worth of supportive services while they're going through this pre-apprenticeship training to help them complete, because we want them to complete and gain these micro-credentials. And then I'm going to hand it back to Savannah.
Thank you, Ivy. So I also oversee our healthcare grants that are within the Business Training and Support Unit. So on the next slide, our first grant that we have is our YEMS grant. We are currently accepting applications. We do have some limited funding remaining for this grant, but this grant covers the cost of training for those individuals entering into the emergency medical services field. So we can cover the cost of training for EMT basic, advanced, and intermediate. It's a $2,000 cap for those trainings, and then $10,000 for a paramedic certification and $17,000 for a paramedic degree. Currently, EMT or EMS, programs are being offered through LCCC, Northwest College, Casper College, and then Western Wyoming Community College. We do also have an in-house training provider route as well. So some of your firehouses or hospitals may also provide in-house training that's registered with the EMS Association. Those trainings are also eligible to be requested for this funding with the same caps per training. To date, we have awarded 134 grants, 115 individuals, and 19 training providers. We have served 183 EMT basics, 107 EMT advanced students, and 58 paramedics. To date, 132 of those it's probably close to 300, but 132 of those have been hired within the EMS field, and then those trainings are currently ongoing. So that number is planned to increase as students finish their training. The next grant that we have is our Y Health Train grant, which was funded through ARPA. So this was to assist Wyoming residents who were completing a 2-year degree or certificate program within the healthcare realm. So there were no limitations on the type of program, but we did have preference towards nursing and behavioral health training programs, as that is a high priority area within the state of Wyoming. In total, for the ARPA period, we served 242 students that are currently completing their programs. 1.8 million was awarded. Our preferred pathways, again, were nursing and behavioral health. We had 140 students approved within that nursing pathway, and 38 students were approved within that behavioral health pathway. That nursing pathway would have been students within a associate's degree in nursing, LPN, CNA, CMA, and behavioral health was addiction studies, master's in counseling, any 2-year degree or certification within that area. Oh, and then we also have our behavioral health grant that is ARPA funded. It is in the works of being stood up at this time. So the purpose of this grant is to provide behavioral health training towards providers within our mental health center, our community mental health centers. The priority listed trainings are EMDR, CBT, criminogenic thinking, autism training, gambling, addiction. There's quite a list of preferred trainings that our centers have identified that they are needing additional capacity building training in. We do have training scheduled and on the books to begin end of May through August. So our our first 3 trainings to be completed is going to be EMDR, CBT, and criminogenic thinking. And then we are working with training providers, both in-state and out-of-state, to provide these trainings to build the capacity within our providers at those community mental health centers.
All right, Jennifer, how are we doing on time? Okay. I keep waiting to see your hand come up. I did want to talk about our Y Quality Counts program, which is an early childhood program that we also have under the Business Training and Support Unit. This program has been around, I believe, since around 2006. It's an excellent program, but probably one of, I would say, lesser known programs under our unit. So I did want to highlight that. This funding provides scholarships for individuals who are working in those early child care centers around the state. They can get up to $2,000 for the Child Development Associate credential, and then $1,000 per semester for tuition, books, and fees. And then we also have grants that are available. The grants go to the early childhood facility for training. They are the applicant. So it could cover up to $1,000 for professional development training. This could be something like a specific conference that was for maybe home-based providers, for example. And so we do work with those centers quite a bit. And then I will also touch on some of the public awareness we have around this program. We do have a website that provides some of the public awareness that is specifically outlined in our statute for Y Quality Counts. So we, as part of that work, we are promoting, quality family interaction, adult to child interaction for healthy growth and development. And then we also have, we currently contract with the University of Wyoming, and they provide training in family engagement and leadership. This is also something that our statute requires that we do in this program. I will say that the childcare business does have to provide 10% of the total expenses. And then we cover 90% of the total expenses, up to $1,000 per employee. Go ahead. And this is a pretty brand new program. I'm sure many of you have heard about. We have hired somebody, his name is Nathan Galloway, and he is currently working to build this program. We were awarded a funding that would allow us to stand this program up as of July 1st of last year. really the idea behind DWS Why Relocate is attracting an out-of-state workforce to come to Wyoming to work in these key industries and really any industry. And we are looking to promote the benefits of Wyoming and coming here. As many of you may remember, we had a program called Wyoming Grown for a really long time. And we are still, we still do get inquiries through that program that will email and say, hey, I'm looking to move to Wyoming. Can you tell me a little bit more about the job climate there? We do work with those individuals. I would say we get a couple emails maybe every few weeks from somebody looking. We do work with those individuals and help to get them maybe to for example, the right workforce center if they want to talk about jobs in that specific community. We are really in the early stages of developing this program. Nathan has been working really hard to network around the state to increase awareness of the program, and also just making connections with people all around the state that are invested in these efforts: chambers, economic development entities, travel and tourism organizations, workforce centers. And then we are looking at standing up a website for Why Relocate, and currently in the vendor selection process. I think this is a great opportunity to be able to blend resources with Forge Your Future and those amazing videos that have been done for this campaign. So we are currently talking about that with our communications team and sort of looking at that video library and seeing, what we can utilize as part of our website that we're looking at standing up. We've also looked a little bit at some LinkedIn recruitment tools and how those might be able to benefit us in these efforts. And so, again, exploring options, really networking and getting out there in the communities to learn more. So that's really what's happening right now with Why Relocate. Do want to mention that you can find all of our program information, and we have a lot of detailed information on our website. We do regular Q&A sessions for both apprenticeship and for the Workforce Development Training Fund. These are very well attended. People have been very receptive to these efforts. We have frequently asked questions on there, any program updates, detailed information about how to register in the new system, what information we need, just really trying to equip people with the tools they need to successfully apply for these grants. And of course, our grant management system is huge. To be able to have a fully encompassing system that is completely online is something we've never experienced before. So that's very exciting. And we're also working on developing an apprenticeship grant management system as well. And so we are currently under contract with a vendor and building that system, which will allow sponsors to get in and put in their information. And it's just going to, again, we've been doing everything with spreadsheets. So this is pretty exciting. So, all right. Thank you. I also know there was some very specific questions that Jennifer got to us from the council, and I didn't really have time to touch on those. There were some great questions. I can certainly touch on those, or I can even get that information out to you at a later time, whatever.
Yeah, I think if you get it to us at a later time.
Okay, we can absolutely do that and send that to you, Jennifer, and you can distribute to the team, because they were some really good questions. So thank you for asking those.
Awesome. Yes, and I just want to say thank you for all the work. It looks like a lot of our grant programs are trending up, which is good. A lot more businesses and individuals taking advantage of them. That's always a good thing to see. And like I've told you before, a lot of these grants actually are very specific to Wyoming. There's not very many other states that have them. So it's probably the number one thing that other state chairs, how? I was like, I don't know. It's these amazing people. they make it work, and it's really great. So definitely, we want everyone, people and businesses in Wyoming to take advantage of these. That's why it's here. So great. Thank you so much, you guys. All right. So next up we have, are you ready, Christina and Trevor? Cool. So we're going to have Christina and Trevor on a one-stop performance report.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and council members. My name is Christina West, and I'm the Deputy Administrator of the One Stops, and I'm presenting today with Trevor.
Yeah, thank you again, up here, Deputy Administrator of the programs side of things, and happy to be here and talk about the performance report.
So I know we're really short on time, so we want to keep this really concise. You do have all of our data for second quarter. And of course, we're willing to answer any questions that you may have. However, you also presented some really good questions to us. So while you're looking at that data, we want to quickly answer those questions, just highlight some of the centers. We do have 18 workforce centers across the state, so there's no way I have time to talk about what happens in all of those centers in relation to your questions. But we'll get that information to Jennifer, and she'll share that so you can see what is happening in your center that's closest to you, because we might not highlight that today. So there were 3 questions. The first question was, there seems to be a huge influx of remote workers moving to places like Cody and the Bighorn Basin. Is this an overall positive or negative impact to your local workforce? And Sal's here in the room, so if you want to talk to Sal later, he can definitely give you more information. But when we really thought about this, we say that it's not really strongly positive or negatively impacting the workforce. It's a little bit of both. It kind of depends on your lens. It depends on how you think or you see things. So just quickly, some of the biggest areas in the Cody area that are in need of people. So the industries that struggle to find people and maintain people, the industries that we see the most job openings are I got to peek, hospitality, healthcare, transportation, and construction. So that's where we're seeing the most need in the Cody and Bighorn Basin. Some of the considerations when we really thought about this question, we know that the remote workers are not actually working in that Cody area, but we're hopeful that their family members are, that they're bringing people with them, and so that those individuals are impacting positively that workforce. We do believe that the families, as well as those remote workers, they're contributing to the local economy and to the tax base. We do see, and I think this was mentioned earlier today, there's a lot of competition for housing. That's kind of negative, right? Struggling to find reasonable housing. So again, overall, we just think that it's a little bit of positive and a little bit of negative all in one.
Yeah, and just to add on what Christina said about the family members, I think that's probably one of the biggest areas where it can be a boost to the economy. You know, we have a lot of open jobs in Wyoming at this point, and so having additional family members come, if they are able to work and get employment, that may help fill some of those vacancies. But conversely, at the same time, when you have more people, there's more need for services, so that may just keep that gap where it's at.
All right, we'll quickly move to the second question. So that question had to do with how we collaborate with the local schools. First and foremost, we love these questions. And if you have ideas or suggestions, I would love to know who asked the question so that we can connect with you. That's really important to us. We can say that all of our workforce centers work with the school districts, and we really try to engage them in all of our Wagner-Peiser services. So those things being employability skills, resume writing, interviews, mock interviews, as well as job fairs. So that does happen. However, with Title I, the youth program, it's really hard if we're going into the schools and selling that program. And the only reason why that becomes difficult is the WIOA Title I youth program requires us to focus 75% of our funding on out-of-school youth. And so if the requirement is 75% of our funds to out-of-school youth, if we're really heavily focused on recruiting in-school youth, we're in trouble, right? So we have to find that balance. We want to be in the schools, we want them to see us, and we want to provide those services, but we just have to make sure we're not getting too many in-school youth in our program. So for the newer council members, out of school and in school, out of school is just, you cannot be attending or registered in any school program. Can't be in high school, can't be enrolled or registered in any college, any trade school. So it really limits who we're serving in our youth program. So we have to catch these young people even before they register to attend college. So we really focus our outreach efforts to a very unique population. But to quickly highlight some really good things, I know Sal highlighted the Worland office. The Cheyenne office is doing some amazing things with some teen-specific youth fairs that's been going on and been really successful over the last couple of years. I want to specifically highlight the Rock Springs office. We've been working with a gentleman by the name of Dominique Syracuse, and he's involved with the Rural Health Network. And we are really brainstorming, how do we change these job fairs? Youth are really not coming. Quite frankly, we're hearing they're boring. They don't want to come. It doesn't speak to them. And I know my generation's like, what? Why are you not coming? So we're really changing them to be more resource fairs. We want to have colleges, we want to have the unions there, we want to have apprenticeships there, and we want to have, kind of a weird word, but fun things for youth to attract them. So we're right now working on this, and our first big event will be in Rock Springs in September. And if all goes well, we're taking it statewide. But even just having these events in different locations that speak more to youth is where we're headed.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, big shout out to Amy Souza, the center manager in Rock Springs, for her work with Dominic on that. And I just learned about that a little while ago, and I think it's a really cool, innovative approach to job fairs. And I think you have to find out of the box solutions to really get people excited about going to these sometimes, especially the youth, because why am I going to go to that? I don't care today. But if you can, whatever it is, bounce houses, I don't know if that's exciting to youth or not, but like things like that, like make it fun. Like Christina said, I think it's going to drive the engagement, and they may accidentally learn some things about working or, some other opportunities for them while they're there. So.
And these will be open to anyone. So in school, out of school, anyone. We've talked a lot with partnering with DVR, having some virtual reality there, some booths set up. So again, just not the normal walk around the table to talk to employers. The last question was update on outreach in the communities that we serve. This is something that I loved this question. Thank you for asking it. It is something that we're really passionate about, is making sure that we don't tell customers, hey, I know you live in Sundance, but drive on to Gillette and come to the Workforce Center. We know that doesn't work. And so we've constantly been saying, meet people where they're at. I will say in some areas, we have great relationships and established working office hours. So in the Weston and Crook County, really meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, we have office hours where we're constantly meeting with people from that community. That works really well in our Teton, Star Valley area. We have individuals that are going twice a week to Star Valley, meeting in their town hall and providing services. It happens a lot in the Evanston area. I think that's Mountain View, where they're touching Fort Bridger and we're utilizing the Learning Center through BOCES. So that is something that we're doing. And we could post all of this with Jennifer so she could have those office hours if that would be helpful. But that was something we put in place after COVID just because we realized there's a high need.
And I think one thing Christina and I are working on a lot right now is kind of gathering those best practices that are happening around the state and then trying to implement them as standard practices so that, you know, if the Gillette office is doing such good outreach in different communities, how can we apply that same thing to different offices to help standardize, you know, what each office is providing and how they can do it. So.
Any questions for us today? We tried to be super fast. Jennifer wanted to have a lot of time.
Yeah, well, great updates, you know, and if the youth aren't interested in a bouncy house, I think the council would. So maybe Mr. Vice Chair, are you good at getting a bouncy house for the council? Okay, good. We'll see it in Jackson. But thank you very much. And I really like the collaboration of like the best practices and kind of making that, you know, making more of a standard thing across all of our one stop. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I do actually have a comment, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Not necessarily a solution, but I have a 14-year-old. And so, resonate with just how they are kind of ingesting information much differently than we are. And it's interesting. I think the boothing setup, even for me as an adult, is intimidated by situations like that. I have a very hard time approaching someone to chat with them in that environment. And so interesting to think about like how you could bring that into the digital sphere, even like the Ask Me Anything is such a unique forum that they do a lot of, you know, in places like Reddit and things like that, where how do you take the intimidation factor out of allowing kids to be curious? And yeah, like I said, I have no solutions right now, but it's an interesting problem to think through of like, how do you even focus group them to then figure out how to communicate with them going forward? So yes, nothing more than a comment, unfortunately, but it is a unique challenge for sure.
Mr. Chairman and council members, we're in the process of really brainstorming that because that is so true. So we would love to have you part of this brainstorm with us if you would be willing. We have meetings with Dominique monthly, sometimes twice a month, and we're just really trying to take away that fear because we know even though we're doing it well in some areas, it's not working for some of those reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bria. Dr. Aldridge, you had something?
Yeah, Chairman Trowbridge, I just wanted to add that the University of Wyoming Cooperative Extension through their 4-H program is doing online career fairs every month and are seeing huge success with that for students across the state. And so I think that might be something to investigate as well, some sort of collaborative effort or how they've managed to take it online and how they've been able to grow that segment.
Cool. Great stuff.
Thank you for that. We, I will say, and Director Gagan may want to mention this, but we do have a platform right now that we are utilizing with the agency. Premier Virtual is the name of the platform. So I would love to get that information and connect. We've done it a couple of times, but not with any youth. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is more just kind of an idea because we have heard things about multiple different types of career fairs, different options, different groups of people putting them on, different costs associated with that over the last day and a half. And I can't help but think of, can we streamline these to make them more accessible to all students? Because I'm sorry, as a parent and as a student, I'm pretty sure people don't want to go to multiple career fairs or different options. They go to one, they want it to be all of the above. And so I think, I don't know if we could maybe look at a pilot community or something, just ideas as to how do we make this function better across the state, because there's a lot of great groups that are putting in resources. And I think that you guys, it sounds like you're spearheading some of those conversations already. So I think maybe the council could help in that area, in pulling together different pilot areas or different ideas and supporting that. So just an idea.
We would love that.
Yeah, it's great stuff. All right. Well, thank you again, Christina and Trevor. Nice work. And Good updates. All right, moving right along. Our next agenda is going to be a quick update on our state plan strategies update. So Jennifer, you want to give us an update, please?
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I would like to, and members of the public who are here, we have this link on our public materials, but it's also found in onboard in your agenda under this agenda item. But as what has been presented before, the council is charged under WIOA with providing the strategic direction for the workforce system in our state. And through this, it's really spearheaded with the WIOA state plan, as that's a requirement for WIOA. The council went through about, I think it was 3 or 4 quarters of working with a contractor aligned to really have a strategic plan for not only the council, but the state workforce system in general. And so in the state plan, the 4 goals that are outlined are the 4 goals of the council. And then under those goals are the strategies that have been identified by the 4 core partners, which is Title I, the Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth, Title II, Adult Basic Education, Title III, Wagner-Peiser, which are general employment services for both employers and job seekers, and then Title IV, which is our vocational rehabilitation. Some of these strategies also include our required partners throughout the state, such as Department of Family Services, Department of Education, Job Corps, and anyone else who really fits in these strategies. So as an update today, this spreadsheet is interactive and you can click on, see, it's trying to pull up right now. Each of these strategies has some kind of status. So I just want to point out here that many of the strategies have an ongoing or implemented status. In progress means that we're working on it. And then next is no one's working on it right now because there are steps that need to happen before that, and future might be so the state plan is a 4-year plan, so it might be years 3 and 4 of the 4-year plan that even might be rewritten when USDOL has us do a rewrite at year 2 and some change. So that's kind of the time frame definitions. So I would not click on anything that says next or future because there won't be an update, hasn't been worked on yet. But if you click on, I'm going to pick on Trevor, on streamline technology across all partner programs. If you click on that, you can make it bigger. I don't know if it'll share through Zoom. Yep, it is. So it identifies who are the core partners who are working on it. So it's all 4 titles. The key collaborators, we have DFS, WDE, and other non-WIOA programs that are administered by DWS. And then, oh, this is a different, I clicked on the wrong one. So this is the streamline terminology across all partner programs. And so that is why there are these key collaborators. Dr. Aldridge worked on this project in this spreadsheet. And then you get an idea of where we are in this strategy specifically is about making sure all of the programs who fit in the workforce system that at least have been identified, because we don't know what we don't know, are speaking the same language. One example is the job seeker. We can call them a job seeker. We can call them a claimant. We can call them a participant. We can call them a client. A lot of these programs have a different term for the same person that we're serving. And so part of this project is to make sure that we can speak the same language, crosswalk those terms, so that we can have valuable referrals to the various programs. And so that's just an example of some of the updates. Go away so I can move. Let's see if I can find Trevor's. He has the technology. I'm specifically saying this because I asked him to put in an update before the meeting. So Hire YO is really the answer to this strategy for ensuring that we have a new MIS system that meets the user's needs. So the core programs that are involved with this one are Title I and Title III. And then key collaborators, the WWDC. In fact, if you remember 1,000,000 years ago, or two, the WWDC voted to give $500,000 to the effort to having a new MIS system. And so there's an update right here about how the system has come along. Any of you who have implemented a large scale integration to a new system will know it takes time. So Hire YO is actually bigger than what the public sees. It's the job posting site. It's also the case management site. It's also an LMI site. It's also provides our reporting to USDOL. It's a large, complex system. And so as it's coming on board, we get new and improved functionality to this program as well. And if you have any questions about Hire YO beyond the update that Trevor was able to provide, he's right here and you can talk to him. Are there any questions about this document?
Jennifer, I have a question. When we try to click on some of the updates, all it says is we have to request access for it.
Okay, I can fix that.
Not that I want it right now, but just saying, a couple of us can't get in.
Yes. If I don't remember to do it tomorrow, just let me know. Friendly reminders are always helpful. I'm here to serve you as your executive director. So someone told me one time, I don't mean to bug you. No, that's literally my job. So please do. And so if I forget to send you something, friendly reminders are always welcome. Or non-friendly, I'll still do it.
Cool. Any other questions from council? That's true. I bug Jennifer all the time, so she's used to it. Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, state plan is very important. Obviously, that is kind of one of our larger requirements as a council that goes up to the Department of Labor. We got to make sure we're on track with that. And we have another kind of effort that is going to be happening throughout the summer and this year, which is a rebrand. So we kind of talked a little bit about it, I think in January, maybe in November, but the communications, the advocacy committee has been working on getting a plan together. There was a questionnaire sent out if you had passion or ideas around like what does our brand look like and, what should it do? So I don't know, Danny and Bria, do you have any updates for us on the brand, the rebranding of the WWDC?
Nothing in particular at the moment. I was going to see, Jennifer, did we get responses on the survey that went out besides mine? That's what I'd like to point out, because I had talked to Jennifer about that. If we didn't get responses, I'm going to assume there was not a lot of fire and passion about branding. So in the meantime, I'll move forward with the advocacy committee, and Bria and I are working on that. We'll have some information to pass along. We had some slides that we're working on and didn't roll out today, so we could keep ET on schedule. I didn't want them running as long today.
You're very kind.
But if anybody now feels inspired, new members or anything about the brand, please let me know or let Jennifer know. It's definitely things we want to incorporate. So,
yep, I think
Mr. Chairman, if I
yes,
may,
go ahead.
Can I just give some background, Danny, if that's okay? So, I don't know, 6 months ago, it really became clear that there was some confusion between some councils. So the Wyoming Business Council and our council have basically the same logo. We have the same colors. And I mean, it's not a shocker that the contractor for both of those entities were the same. And so and it's a problem because the WWDC does need to have a unique identity aside from the business council, that we are complementary, but we are not the same. In fact, many people came to me when I was at a summit with a booth for for our council, and they asked me business council questions. And that's not good for our public because I can't answer them. And so we really need to make sure that both in our outreach efforts as council members, that we distinguish ourselves as the State Workforce Development Council, but also in our branding and how we provide outreach, especially as we're moving to those marketing phases with Forge Your Future. So Danny and Bria have graciously agreed. They have, I mean, Bria works for Mad Media, and Danny has an extensive experience in marketing, and they are lending their skills to the council for this effort so that we don't have to contract with another company, that we will have a brand that speaks to these council members and sets us apart from other councils. So, you know, that was my shape. That you guys aren't going to say that you're freaking awesome, and we're so glad that you're going to take on this project with the voices of the council members. So as Danny was saying, you know, we sent out that survey and we didn't get a lot of responses. I think we had 2, and one was Danny, and I think one was Bria. So that's okay, but they would like to make sure that we're representing everyone, and so we're excited for what the future of our branding looks like, and to make sure that it speaks to our needs.
I would say that if the branding is a big conversation, Bria and I certainly have touched on that before. If anybody just wants to chat about it, because it is more than just a logo, just color selection thing, you know, it's a big picture. So if anybody wants to have a more casual conversation about when we say, what do you feel about branding? Call me and we can chat about it for sure, just to give you kind of a more conversational version of that, instead of just like, well, you need to look at logos you like, because that's the way a lot of people are going to perceive it, and there's more on the back end of it. So if anybody wants a more casual conversation, let me know.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I might be naive, but for me, it was a little confusing on the survey because I'm like, didn't we just do this? And I didn't understand you wanting us to look at the logo, but then the whole website in general. So I was kind of like, I didn't know quite how to answer it because I was like, I thought we just talked about this. So I wasn't sure what we were looking for specifically as far as like an actual new logo color or what are we trying to convey. So I apologize. I didn't respond. I was kind of confused by the survey.
It's a little of both. So if there was, so apologize if that came across as confusing, because it is, because of the language we use. Speaking of streamlining language, we see it one way, and then I would think, you know, a non-marketing mind probably sees it as the logo, the colors. So specifically some of the personality behind the brand, things that you'd really like to convey, not to get flowery with it, but the feeling behind the brand. What do we want it? Do we want it to look as professional? That's not the word I want. Should it look like the business council, which has one thing, versus workforce services, which has a different vibe, you know? So how approachable and friendly, I mean, even some of that kind of language is kind of what we were looking for. You get a general sense of the emotion and the feeling behind this council. And that could just be direct logo comments or color.
Yeah.
I mean, thoughts from so I've only been on this council 2 years. I did talk to Eric about this. When is the last time that you guys did a rebrand? What was that?
Oh, who was here when we did it? 4 or 5? It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
So definitely outside of my purview. I know that what the goal is, and ET step in here too, because I know you're kind of leading this charge. It is feeling similar to some of those business council logos, those sorts of things. So this is definitely an initiative to kind of step away from those entities and make sure that our visual brand, voice, as Danny said, all of those things really denotate what we're doing here, as opposed to getting confused with some of those other entities that look a little bit similar visually. So
Yeah. Like Danny said, bring all the flowers. Like, what do we want people to feel when they see our brand? Like, is it like powerful? Is it approachable? Is it professional? You know, like what is the kind of the soul of this council? And that should come off in a great brand. You should look at it and go, whoa, these guys are like, okay, they're more professional, or maybe they're a little bit more approachable. So if you have, I mean, it's kind of hard to think about what does that soul of this council look like? So think about it. And if you have opinions, chat with Danny and Bria. But yeah, the goal is to also potentially unveil our new brand in Jackson this September. So hopefully we'll have our new brand unveiling in Jackson. Cool. All right. Well, kind of the last larger-ish section. As we all know, the committee as a whole meetings are great. They happen 4 times a year, but a significant amount of our work always happens in the subcommittee meetings, right? So that's where the meat and potatoes is where you work on our strategic plan. And so we're going to get some committee updates from our 3 subcommittees now. And I'll hand it back over to Danny for an update on the former, this will be the last time I say it, the Communications and Community Relations Subcommittee.
So obviously what we were just discussing is the bulk of what we've been doing, working with Jennifer to create the surveys, talking about kind of the beginnings and some of the hurdles that we're seeing with other brands in the state. So that has definitely been our focus as the advocacy committee. I'm gonna start saying it right now. So that's where we're at. If there's any questions or if Bria has any updates, our meetings have been sparse lately. So if anybody's interested in the advocacy committee, please let me know or let ET know, because we would like members that want to engage. Yeah. Not much else from us.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And like I said, we will be going through the restructuring of the subcommittees this summer. So more to come on that. But yeah, the advocacy committee is one of the ones that does need some additional minds, ideas, feedback, thoughts on it for sure. Great. Update from our strategic performance and finance is going to be presented by Vice Chair Michael Kirscher.
Thank you. Again, most of the things that we have done over the last quarter, we voted on throughout this meeting. So a lot of it relates to our budget and expenditures, the grants, of course, and then any needed financial approvals relating to contracts used by the council. We also work on the eligible training provider review or ETPL list. This is just related to the providers that for the state that can where job seekers are eligible for monies to get trainings and everything. And it's just a large list that we review and discuss at our meetings. Some of the future work that we're going to do is working on the charter development, as ET has outlined throughout the last few days, and then of course just the normal business of financial reviewing and the ETPL list. I did want to give a few shout outs to some of the hardworking people behind the scenes for the state: Colette Richardson, Lacey Lavake, Trevor Mansfield, Jennifer Cassidy, and Jennifer Welch. Of course, they do a lot of work behind the scenes for our subcommittee to make sure that we can continue our business. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Mr. Kirscher. All right, and then do we have someone that can speak to the sector partnerships and career pathways, as Tony is not with us today? Go ahead, Wendy.
All right, Jennifer said I got to talk. So our committee hasn't met since we had our academy, but that was on April 24th. It was my first time attending it. I think it was a phenomenal turnout. How many people do you have an idea of how many people?
We had just under 80 people attend. We had 84 people register, and then, some things happen. People don't come, but we had just under 80 people attend.
It was really great. If you guys have never attended one, I absolutely highly recommend it. Quite honestly, I felt like I was kind of lost the last year. And after attending this academy, I actually feel like, wow, I know what's going on now. And when we think about like our partnerships and stuff, we always hear about Southwest Manufacturing, but there's a lot of really other great partnerships in the state. I believe it was Natrona County. They have a really great healthcare partnership. Debbie has started a partnership in the Northeast part for hospitality. Larry and the guys down there in his area, they have, I'm just kind of going through my notes here real quick, sorry. They've restarted the Laramie County Construction Partnership. So we have a lot of really great partnerships going on in the state right now. I mean, other than that, that's kind of our update, since we haven't really met since that academy went on. But I think I'm also supposed to say, if you guys are new to the committee and you're looking for a group to join, please join ours.
Oh my God, they fight off. You're the chair of these subcommittees. They all fight for you. So you didn't know that joining the council. So
I'm
just
the
be
chair of
careful.
our committee, and I'd like to invite you.
Take this offline, chairs. You can go.
I know
do that.
Tony would say that, so I just had to throw that in there.
He would say that. So thank you for channeling
Yeah.
Tony, since he's not here with us today. Great. And, the Academy, for those who are new, it's an incredible experience. And I heard this one was really well attended, a lot of great feedback with the Academy. And to your point, Wendy, it does kind of, I think, connect a lot of the dots. You're like, you just kind of walk away from that. And then you see all of these really cool industries, those sector partnerships that are happening across the state. It's actually really inspiring. And that's actually one of the key things that we do as council as well. We have the sector partnership grants that we offer to try to stimulate and support the sector partnerships. So great stuff.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I add? And Debbie, don't be afraid to talk about your cool stuff there, but every year someone asks us to talk about Next Gen. And so we have Erin over here. She updates this map. So this is kind of a visual representation of the partnerships throughout the state. We decided we need to come up with a new logo for nonprofit, because we need to take off the healthcare one in the Northeast and add nonprofit. So if you have any suggestions about what our new logo will look like for nonprofits, we were maybe thinking like Helping Hand. We don't know. So let us know so we can add that visual there in Southwest or Southeast. No, Northeast. I got this. But we are growing and expanding partnerships throughout the state. I have been asked several times recently to talk about Next Gen and the great work that's happening in our communities. And really this council, it just supports them with our contractor, John Melville, with Collaborative Economics, and then with the support grants, such as one that we voted on yesterday. But just in general, the conveners and the industry champions that we have throughout the state are the best of the best. And we're always looking to add new industries and grow that footprint. I'm actively working with Central Wyoming College to start a partnership in Fremont County. It might be a manufacturing. It's either going to be manufacturing or construction. It's all about finding the right industry champion. So if you know anyone in Fremont County who fits that bill for industry champions, please let us know, because some exciting things. I can feel the electricity in this community about starting a partnership here. And so we did have some members of this community come to the Next Gen sector or the Next Gen Academy. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Academy, we hold it once a year, and we bring all of our sector partnerships together in a room to work with facilitators throughout the country who do something similar in their areas. Many of them are Next Gen coaches who really help energize those sector partnerships. And those partnerships can be well established, like Southwest Manufacturing Partnership. And people always say that, but also the High Altitude Manufacturing Partnership has been around for a really long time. And we're excited that Taylor's on the council here. She's a part of the Young Contractors Coalition. And so we're excited about the things that she can do throughout the state to get more of the hard hat construction partnerships throughout the state. And so really, I think we're primed in our state to grow and have more partnerships and representing on this map. And so we bring those well-established partnerships, but also new and emerging partnerships in the room to get some of that knowledge of how partnerships work. And then also to work with, we have some partnerships who are working with coaches on launching partnerships. So it's really exciting. I think Michael and Debbie and Wendy can really speak to the energy in those rooms. I had one specific person stop me at the end. She was from Rollins, who at dinner was telling me she didn't know if she could continue. She didn't know she could could work in economic development in that community anymore. It was just so frustrating to have her efforts. And when she left our academy, she said she was re-energized and she was ready to get to work again and that she would call me for more assistance. And I said, absolutely. So it's those kind of stories that really make the academy worth it.
Yes, Dr. Aldridge.
I was just wondering if Jennifer, you wanted to remind everyone that actually the Next Gen partnership is the training focus for the online training on June 11th, I think it is.
You are so right. And I don't know why Aaron and Yvonne didn't remind me that the DWS virtual training series is highlighting our sector partnerships at the June training session that's on June 10th. So please join that. You'll hear more from Larry Fodor, Dana from Gillette, who's a convener for 2 partnerships up there. Ron Wild, who is a former member and a huge champion for his community. And then who else do we have? I don't know. We have more people. They're all industry experts and I mean, we have experts and then we have people who are launching and talking about how those new launches work. So we're really excited to be invited and it's a panel discussion and I'm going to moderate that panel. And we're just really excited that the DWS was able to put us in on the schedule for their virtual training series. It's open to everyone. Yeah, Charlie?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask these questions that demonstrate my ignorance. And does the training move around the academy? Thank you.
So that's a great question. The sector partnerships and career pathways committee actually decide every year where we'll have the academy. The last 2 years we've had it in Cheyenne because we've really found that the turnout in Cheyenne is significantly greater than when we've been in Lander and some other areas. Now, Chairman Cross has expressed that if like the Southwest Manufacturing Partnership wanted to host and that kind of thing, that he's interested in moving it around. But right now we've really found that Cheyenne draws the largest crowd. And it's significantly now, some people say, well, it's not all about the money, but there is a financial piece to it because we have so many of the industry partners, or not industry, but we have the other entity partners located in Cheyenne. And then traveling. So all of our facilitators and John Melville and everyone who travel, it's easier to travel up from Denver. And we have several of our facilitators are in Northern Colorado. So they just drive up for the day. So the cost for an academy in Cheyenne it's very little. We have a great conference space in Cheyenne. It's literally the hotels. And I think I spent $3,000 on hotels this year. And everything else is, so Director Gagan provides some of the snacks, and then we have a sponsor who usually provides lunch. And so it's the draw and the cost have meant that we've had it in Cheyenne the last couple of years.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you all for those updates. And we're kind of, as we wrap up, any public comments? Do we have any public comment? Or other council business that we want to make sure council members are aware of? Yes, Brenda?
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't remember. When do we schedule out the locations for the future meetings? Is that
Ooh, great question, Brenda. Okay, so actually I will solicit recommendations for next year's locations. So how this works now is I do want a council member to be the host, the sponsor. So Matt Smith with Job Corps is kind of the host, works with Matthew Davis. I'm sorry. Yeah, Matthew Davis worked with Jennifer on like location, what would be touring, who should we bring on to our panels. So you're kind of like you're bringing the council as our guest to your city and your region. But I'm willing to open-minded.
Well, I would just like to recommend Sheridan, and I know that Travis Lawrence is up there. I'd be willing to help him do that because Mr. Larry Fodor has never been to Sheridan. So, we were talking last night at dinner, and I think we need to go to a place that we haven't been to for a while. So
Yeah.
I will help coordinate that.
Okay.
If necessary.
Fabulous. Yeah.
Travis is actually in Buffalo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So close enough.
Close enough.
Just
keep going.
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
But Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to add on to that. So by the bylaws, Chairman Trowbridge has to decide by the November meeting. And so that's generally when we put out where he selected. We do accept recommendations throughout the year.
Okay.
But again, right now, at least, we're trying to have a council member in that community because we do want to make sure that the council members get to show off the communities that they represent.
Yep. I mean, the earlier the better. If we have all the city, basically we're looking at 2 locations, so it's going to be May of next year and September of next year. So again, that's kind of wide open to whoever would like to host us next year. And as we all know, we always do our Q1 meeting. January is all remote. It's just incredibly challenging to travel in that time. And then just because of stuff happening in Cheyenne, we always do Cheyenne in November. So yeah, so feel free to shoot Jennifer and I if you'd like to toss in your community and or city into the hat. And then we also do look at what cities we haven't been to. And you're right, Brenda, we haven't been to Sheridan in a while, or kind of up in that north eastern part of Wyoming. So highly likely we'll probably be up there somewhere next year for one of them. Yep. Cool. Great question. Any other council business or questions or public comment? No questions online? All right. Well, I guess to kind of wrap it up, just to kind of summarize what will be happening this summer. So big summer, lots of work that's going to be done. So definitely stay close to Onboard. I'll be sending out videos and information on some of the stuff that I talked about yesterday. Again, the first one, I've got 2 asks of council members if they want to be a part of them. Like I mentioned yesterday, I will be sending out probably the first week of June, a more detailed plan around the new AI task force. You do not need to know AI. It's like, are you passionate and like, or want to understand how it's going to potentially impact Wyoming so we can make informed decisions? So again, I'm looking for anywhere from just 5, no more than 7 council members to do that for a 1-year turnaround time. So you'll probably meet once a month, and then you'll present your final report on the AI's impact on Wyoming in a year from now. The other subcommittee, it's actually not really even a subcommittee. It's more of that ad hoc committee. It's the training thing, which is ad hoc. So when we get these apprenticeship grants, we get the pre-hire economic development grants, the staff of GWS will reach out and we'll just do a quick little doodle poll. They usually take like 30 minutes, if anything, and we get the materials and the grant requests sent to us ahead of time. And we're just there to ask questions of the staff and then hopefully get those grants approved or sent back for the right reason so that entity can then either reapply or, begin that approval process. So I'm also looking for about 5 or 6, and I do have to have 5 or 6 people on that one. So if I don't get volunteers, I'm coming after some of you. So I know where you're at. So the AI task force is an opportunity that'll start kicking up probably in July or August. And then the ad hoc for grant approval for the training fund. So, and then lastly, I think that's it. Oh yeah. Then we'll be working on subcommittees. So I'll send out another video about that as well. You'll get a survey. If you prefer to stay on the subcommittee you're on, that's fine. You will have kind of again, stacked ranking kind of thing. And then we'll send out more information about that. And then we're going to be working on the charters. And so you'll continue to meet with your current subcommittees as they're structured all the way through September. That switch will happen in October after we have our meeting in September. So looking forward to that and getting everyone redistributed. And the charters are going to be great. So we'll also be looking for feedback in your monthly meetings about feedback around your charter so we can get them all formalized and put into our file folder. So cool. So busy summer. Have a great summer. We don't get very long summers in Wyoming, so enjoy it. Soak up the sun. Get sunburnt. Not too bad. And then we will see you all back. We'll see you in Jackson in person at the Jackson Hole Airport. It's going to be really fun. Tony's going to be our host there. And so we'll get more as we get more information about the agenda, all that kind of stuff. But I think he's going to give us an operational tour of the Jackson Hole Airport. So it'll be kind of an aviation themed council meeting. So that'll be fun. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, a treasure, a joy, cannot measure. So I will welcome a motion to adjourn.
I motion.
All right. A motion from Wendy to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Deborah. All right. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, no one wants to stay with me. All right, everyone, safe travels. See you in September.